Welcome to Truth UnCompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. All right, family. Good evening. Welcome to the Truth UnCompromised Show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is Thursday, July 7th. We have a great show planned for you tonight. There is so much going on that we need to discuss. We're going to talk a little bit about these recent shootings, the back-to-back shootings of melanated men. We are also going to discuss the news. There's a lot of stuff going on in the news we need to discuss. And then we are going to get to our main topic tonight, which I am excited about. Two things. We're going to pick back up with the Book of Jubilee. Sis Divinity is going to bring that tonight. A chapter with the family to blend in on it with our series, The Creation Story Myths. And then Brother Wendell is going to pick back up with the Lost Book of Enki. Those of you that have joined us over the past couple of weeks, he has been throwing down with that. So with that said, I'm going to start bringing people on. I know Sis Divinity is in the house. Let me open her up. Sis, are you there?
I am. Greetings, beloved.
Greetings. How are you this evening?
All is well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to get started. I know we have a lot of stuff to go over. So let me bring in Brother Wendell. I'm so proud of him. He said he's been prepared. He's been getting his little greens and spinach and stuff in silently. So let me bring in Sugar Pie Wendell. So let me bring in Brother Wendell. Here we go. Brother Wendell, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey.
How you doing, brother?
What's happening? I'm all right. I'm still here.
Good. Well, I am excited about picking back up with the Lost Book of Enki. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. I do want to start out, jump right into it, because we have a lot going on. So let's get right into it with these recent back-to-back shootings on the melanated men. Now, those of you that have been with us for quite a while, you know my feelings on all of these events that happen. Now, I call them false flags. So now let's get clear what that means. That does not mean I don't believe that they happen. I don't really know that they happen. But in either case, they are a staged event. So meaning whether or not someone perished or they're not, or they haven't perished, they're using actors. The point being, they are all set up for a couple of purposes. Let's be clear. The first purpose, always the first purpose, is a distraction. Second purpose is always to direct your energy to what they want your energy to be. Because remember, these particular folk, demons, disagreeables, clones, demons, mind control, must I go down the line, they all operate off of energy. Particularly, we know on this planet that the melanated being has the highest form of energy.
Yes.
So who not better to target to spoke a reaction out of the melanated people to cipher all of that energy. Okay? So it is no different from these back-to-back, because there were, 4 within 2 days. That highly smells like a ritual to me that they are trying to do to get energy and to put up a distraction. So I'm saying all that to say, I've said it several times, that those of us that are in the know, that follow this stuff, You have to be careful on what you are directing your energy towards.
Yes. Absolutely.
You have control over your own emotions. You have control over how you want to channel your energy. So it is up to us to stop the madness. And it starts with each individual one of us to become wise on what the game is. Okay? So particularly tonight, I had a conversation with someone recently, really interesting conversation. And we were talking about the game of chess. Now, I'm not a big chess player, family, but after this brother broke down for me, this particular analogy, I think I could literally play this game now and master it. So, and I have a point for this, so bear with me, family. So, this is how this brother broke down the game of chess. He equates the game of chess as also how the game of life is being played, or this illusion or this matrix that we're currently in with this third density. Here are the pieces on the board. The pawn is equal to the melanated people.
Oh.
The knights are equal to the killers.
Wow.
The rook is equal to the house or a foundation where the woman and child lives.
What this is?
The rook is equal to a house.
All right.
Okay, so anybody familiar with the chess, you know that rook is like the little end piece that stand up on top of them castles back in the day. So that's house. That represents house or foundation or the structure of where a woman and child lives.
Okay.
The bishop steals your mind or controls your mind. The king is equal to the man on the land, the man that is controlling the land. Well, let's say the man on the land. The queen, now this is the part that just blew my, as Sis Sahida saved my so-and-so wig back. The queen is equal to the devil.
Wow.
She controls it all. Okay, so I want the family to sit back and think about who these current disagreeables, demons, mind control, etc., the Vatican, fake Queen Lizzie. Think about what they have currently done. Think about the pieces of the board that I have just mentioned to you. Get that picture in your head very clear. Now, I'm going to say it is our responsibility to enter and understand the movements of the pieces on this game. We are to know the entire view of the game. So not be looking at the game from an individual movement level. Those of us that are in the know, that are awake, we are supposed to be looking at the game of chess from a higher level. We're supposed to be looking above the board. And at a minimum, we are supposed to be predicting and dictating their next 10 moves.
Yes.
Okay? Now, that's one side of the game of chess. Our goal is to reverse and shut down their game.
Here, here.
Here's the other side of the chessboard, the pawn. Those are the agents and the puppet heads. So that's all of these political figures that we see out there, that someone else is controlling them. They are the pawns. We need to recognize that on this game of chess called life. The rook. That's our house foundation that we must control. That means the 3 P's: protect, prepare, and provide. I'm going to say that again. For the piece of the rook, that's the house foundation.
Right.
That's the safe haven for woman and child. The job is the 3 P's. For the men: protect, prepare, provide. The bishop piece on the board, this is our side of this chessboard. Learn to be masters of your own spiritual domain. That is what the bishop is on our side of this chessboard. Learn to be master of your own spiritual domain. The king on the board. Melanated men, you are supposed to prepare and protect the land that your people are the rightful owners of. That is the job of the melanated man. Protect, prepare, provide. The guardians help guard of the land. The queen. This is directly towards the melanated women. You are to move freely on the board. You are to control it all for the benefit of the people.
Here. Got it.
Everybody has a role to play. You're not supposed to be playing on their side of the board. You're supposed to master your side of the board and look above and not only predict the 10 next moves they're going to make, but you shut down the moves you want to shut down.
Yeah.
This applies to everything that we do. What we have to enter and understand, this is warfare from a spiritual perspective. We are supposed to be at the point of being creators and manifesting what we want and what we need. We are not supposed to be in the position of continuing to be mindless consumers and asking others for solutions. Again, be a creator. Manifest what you want. Go within to use your spiritual mind to create the new world that you want. How do you do that? Every day. You are supposed to have spiritual goals that you verbally and you write down to help create what you want. That's on a personal level and on a grand scheme level. You are supposed to be reversing out anything that is not in the best interest of you and the entire planet.
Beautiful.
Stop giving them your power. They can only survive on your power. Start preparing. Start divorcing yourself from this illusion. We've talked about this time and time again. Get rid of people, places, and things that do not benefit you, that do not benefit the new world system, solution, whatever you're trying to accomplish for the greater good. Start divorcing it, get rid of it. Break the dependencies as much as possible. Simple things we could do, like having an emergency plan for your immediate household, having a financial plan, supporting businesses that you know are with like-minded people. These are simple things that we could do. Remove the fiat that you do have from the big banks. If you have to deal with banks, select smaller banks that are melanated owned. I'm getting feedback from somebody. Okay, I'm muting somebody. Okay.
Beautiful.
All righty. So these are just some of the simple things we can do. Go back to the basics. Stuff like either growing your own food, supporting your local farmer, making sure you have a surplus of staples. Start creating connections with folks that you could barter with. These are just some simple things that we can do to start divorcing yourself from the matrix, from the illusion. Break that dependency. Take back your power and use it.
Yes.
Okay, so these are just a couple of things that we can personally do. You don't have to wait on anyone to do anything. Start doing simple things for yourself. Everything that we do, you should have a plan, and it should be done strategically. Stop being reactive, and not only reactive, allowing somebody to tell you when to be reactive. So that's my little spiel, my little 2 cents on the whole recent shooting that took place. I'm going to open you back up, Brother Wendell. I was getting a lot of feedback from you. So let me open you back up.
See, I don't know if it's on my end or you're breaking up really badly. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Of course I'm breaking up.
Yep, exactly.
Okay. So hopefully, just let me know if it still happens, and I'll switch out. I don't hear it, but that doesn't necessarily mean. So I'll deal.
You're breaking up.
Okay. Am I still breaking up?
Yep.
Okay, so you hear it too, Wendell.
Okay, so let me switch another line. If either one of you, while I'm doing it, want to put something on it, go ahead. I'm going to switch out to another line.
Okay. Very good. Yes, that was awesome information that she just put out there. And I hope the family is receiving it well and not be afraid to follow through on what she's saying. You can do it. You really can. Just remove the fear. It's not a part of who you are. Brother Wendell?
I'm good.
Okay. Sis, are you back?
Okay. I'm back.
Better.
Okay. All righty. So I had to switch to my phone, so hopefully this will work. Okay. So we're going to move right along. So there is a lot of stuff jumping off in the financial world, as usual. In particular, Brother Wendell, right when before I jumped on the air, I saw an article, and I just had to share it with you because I know you've been tracking this pretty well. So this article came out today on Before It's News, and the title of it is Europe's Bank Crisis arrives in Germany. 29 billion, Bremen Landsbank on the verge of failure. Okay, so let's start with just real briefly. We told you last week or either week before last, forgive me, family, it all starts to blend together, that Germany and France are probably the next that's going to step up and want to exit the EU crisis. Okay, so now in addition to that, what's been in the news, Germany's main bank, Deutsche Bank, it's been in the news like forever, like it's basically collapsed, yada, 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 this, that, and the third. So this article, and this, I guess this is from ZeroHedge.com now that I see it, it says that when most recently reporting on the latest European banking crisis, yesterday we observed, before the news needs to get together, get it in order with all these damn pop-ups. It's annoying.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, they need to, come on, y'all. I know y'all can't be that hard up to scratch. Mm-hmm. Get it together. Okay, it says, so when most recently reported, and it just refreshed again. Yeah, this is irritating. It's basically saying, I'm going to have to paraphrase because before news is a crappy website now. Brother Wendell is basically saying that Deutsche Bank is selling off its shipping debt.
Wow.
They're trying to dump it. And the reason they're trying to dump it is because the shipping has been down drastically. Yeah. So I kind of chuckled to myself because we have been tracking that, Dry Baltic Index going on damn near 2 years.
Yeah. And
it's been the lowest since it's been in history. And we've shared with the family several times that basically ships are either sitting out on the ports or other nations have stopped bringing stuff in because they don't want to be paid with the stinking dollar. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, this is proving it because Deutsche Bank, that had big investments, and it was some billions of dollars of investments, shipping investments that they're trying to dump, once again validates what we've been saying, is that shipments of goods and services are not flowing like they used to. Okay, so Brother Wendell even went even further and shared with you all, he's tracking even the movement of the cargo. And he's seeing where nothing's coming in. It's the same little funky few cargo going in between the ports. The same ports. So nothing's coming in from overseas. It's just the same little cargo going from one port to the other within our borders. So this once again kind of backs up what we're telling you all about the financial collapse that is unfolding before our eyes. And I am with the mindset that is one of the reasons why all of the distractions are happening as well, because they have to come up with a game plan to keep the wizard behind the curtain operating. And they about running out of options now. And Toto is like pulling back the little curtain as we speak. So I did want to bring that to the family's attention. So, Brother Wendell, did you have anything to put on that before we move on?
Yeah. I'm going to give you a real good example of how bad it's getting. My favorite place is the farmer's market.
Mm-hmm.
And avocados have gone from 69 cents a piece to $2.49 a piece.
For one avocado?
Yep.
Wow.
When the supply goes down, the price goes up. That shows you there ain't nothing coming.
That's right.
Now, and they really getting trifling because they could get the avocados from California. I know they grow plentiful there in Mexico.
That's where they get them from.
Yeah, I know for a fact that it's Mexico, but I know California, almost everybody have a damn avocado in their backyard.
Yep.
So that's very, very, very interesting. That's very interesting.
It's right out there in front of us. All we gotta do is pay attention.
Exactly. And so that's why my little spiel about the game of chess and being prepared, we better get on our game and do just that. And stop relying on individual people to tell you what to do, and definitely the government, because they're not going to tell you the right thing to do. They're going to steer you in a direction they want to steer you in for their best interest, not your best interest. So, I mean, as we're bringing this news to you every week, and as you're reading this stuff on your own and researching on your own, and even as you're looking at the headlines, you should be reading behind the headlines. You should be thinking in the aspect, why are they bringing me this story? What are they really trying to tell me? That's thinking from a strategic standpoint instead of being reactive, reacting to the way they want you to react. So, very good point, Brother Wendell. Very good point. So in the other news, real quick, I just talked about Deutsche Bank and that particular article before it's news. So if anybody wants to read that article, you can before it's news. Not cooperating, but it came out today, and the title of it is Europe's Bank Crisis Arrives in Germany, 29 billion Bremen Landsbank on the verge of failure. Okay, so then earlier this week, RT News came out with something saying that the Federal Reserve System, Deutsche Bank, and Santander fails agency stress test. And so it says the companies displayed broad and substantial weakness across their capital planning process, the regulator said. The Fed passed 30 U.S. banks and gave conditional approval for Morgan Stanley. So let's pay very close attention to this. First of all, the stress test, they came up with that because back in the 2008 financial crash, they claimed and allegedly said they were caught off guard, which was total BS. They're doing the same thing now that they did back then. They're not telling you that they're flat broke and over their head. So after that 2008 financial crash, they came up with all these alleged reforms, and one of the reforms is that periodically the Fed Reserve, which is it's really a joke because they're really auditing or stress testing themselves, are to perform a stress test, look at the books, and determine if something were to happen, a crisis, a financial crisis was to happen, would these banks be prepared to cover it? So in other words, if a financial crisis hits again, will these banks be able to pay out the particular payments and sustain themselves instead of coming back to the public for a bailout? Okay, so now I have been tracking that for a couple years, and the first time that they did the little stress test situation, none of the banks could pass it, and then allegedly and supposedly they got better where they could pass it, and so now they're saying that Deutsche Bank didn't pass it, but 30 other banks passed it, and Morgan Stanley which that's huge, you all. They are huge. They are a huge financial investor. They barely passed it because they had conditional approval. So what that means is they are once again telling you that these banks have failed.
Yes.
Deutsche Bank is huge. We've talked about that. That's like Germany. Think of Deutsche Bank like J.P. Morgan Chase over here. Okay? They've already failed. Morgan Stanley is a financial investment firm that's a spinoff from J.P. Morgan Chase. So they're saying that they're barely holding on by a thread. They barely passed. Now, think of what that means. They had to be forced to admit that these two particular entities that are huge barely passed their own damn test. They're auditing themselves. So you have to read behind the lines. They're telling you that the banks have already failed. They're putting this information out here for people that's smart enough to pick up. Move your shit.
Mm-hmm.
You should have been moved your investments. You should have been moved your little change. Because this is 2008 all over again, but this time it's going to be 10 times worse. And there will be no recovery for that corporate side. Okay, so just pay attention to that. I found that very interesting that they supposedly and allegedly did a stress test on themselves, 1 or 2 weeks after the EU, the UK broke away from the EU. So pay attention.
You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
They call it a stress test, but that sequence of events ain't nothing but no child left behind on the banking level.
That's a great way to put that, brother.
That's all that is. They manipulating that so that nobody will be left out.
Well,
and you know they manipulating if it's an internal audit.
Right. So the Fed, and I when I first heard about it back in 2008, that they were coming up with this test to audit their damn self. This is the same agency, the Fed Reserve, that never had anyone audit them because people have been screaming for independent auditors to audit their books. They refuse, and, for those that don't know, the Fed Reserve, it ain't a damn thing federal about them. They are not a government agency. It is private bankers, okay? So you got a bunch of private bankers auditing themselves. That's a joke within itself. Let's start with that. Mm-hmm. Now, number two, you're forced to say, well, damn, we gotta at least, somebody gonna be the sacrificial lamb, because that's what they did in 2008. Lehman Brothers was the sacrificial lamb. They let it fail. So this time it's gonna be Deutsche Bank and Morgan Stanley. They're already telling you who the sacrificial lamb is. Because part of their game is they got to put somebody out there to take the blame. So they think they can sit back and keep doing their dirt. But this time it'll be different because no one's going to bail them out. No one has anything to bail them out with. And the rest of the world, with the wealth that's backing stuff up with their particular hard assets, aren't playing in the sandbox with them anymore. So just pay attention to that, family, because they're definitely putting it in plain sight. You just have to read behind the headlines.
Yeah,
okay.
One more point to that sacrificial lamb. That sacrificial lamb got wool on it.
Ooh, well, exactly.
In other words, you better get your little mess out of there because you're going to get shaved off too.
Exactly. Exactly, because as I, went on my little soapbox earlier talking about the game of chess, they're looking at you as the pawn on that board that they could, as collateral damage. That's what the pawns are.
Yeah.
They're the collateral damage. So you got to start thinking strategically. If they tell you to move left, damn it, you better be moving right.
Right, there you go. Mm-hmm.
They tell you to move up, you better be moving down. As a matter of fact, you need to be looking way above as they're telling the other folks which way to move. You're supposed to see the entire board, not just what is put in front of you. So, very good point, Brother Wendell. Very good point. Okay, other thing, and the ish done hit the fan financial news, I saw in RT News that it says Russian central banks started buying Chinese yuan assets last year. So my comment to that is no shit. So it says Russian central bank started buying Chinese yuan denomination assets in the fourth quarter of last year as part of its drive to diversify its foreign currency reserves and make it less vulnerable to Western sanctions. At the end of September last year, that critical September of last year, the yuan had not figured in the central bank's foreign currency assets. But the bank said on Monday the yuan accounted for 0.1% of its Forex assets by the end of 2015. Russia now joins a small group of countries, most of them in Asia, whose central banks have purchased the Chinese currency for reserves. Okay, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to say it real slow. Can't get no clearer than that. They've been telling you that the dollar is no more king. We've already stated just earlier that the reason goods and services aren't flowing into this nation is because these other nations don't want to be paid in dollars.
There you go.
They want to be paid in yuan. Why? Because China can back up their currency with gold and other precious assets. The U.S. can't. It's a promissory note. China and Russia have been dumped all of the Treasury debt note from the U.S. They did that around, I think they dumped the last of it right around September of last year. And they either bought the rest of the gold that they could get their hands on, or they put it in the yuan currency. So they're telling you what's going on, but you got to read behind the scenes. So those that are looking for currencies to revalue, to NARM, such and so, that's not where the wealth is going to be. It's going to be in the yuan. So just pay attention, family, because they're putting it all in our face. So real quick, in other financial news, Puerto Rico officially defaulted on its debt to the bondholders. So what that means is if you bought a treasury bond with Puerto Rico, whether that be a local municipal bond, they can't pay you on the payments that are scheduled. So Puerto Rico has been running around asking the U.S. court to bail them out. U.S. court been tap dancing, singing, oh, yeah, we going to do it, and canceling meetings. Then they come out and say they came up with a package, but yet they defaulted on their debt. So, again, if the U.S. corp is so stable, it's all of that in the bag of chips, how come it's not able to, number one, pull itself out of debt, and number two, come to anyone else's rescue? So that is just another indication, family, that the system, that European Union, UK exiting the EU, it's also still happening over here. Make no mistake about it. It's all collapsing together. Okay. So the only other thing two other things I do want to go over in the financial news. One of them is that the hunger problems with the food shortage in Venezuela continues. That particular economy has definitely collapsed. So those folk are at the point where they're either can't afford to buy food to feed their family, or when they get to a particular location for food, they're standing in long lines. So I keep bringing this up, number one, to show my empathy for the Venezuelan people. They definitely don't deserve to be put in this situation based on being under a corrupt system. But secondly, I bring it to you, family, to put it back before you, yet again, to let you know, don't think that it can't happen over here.
Exactly.
Do not depend on these folk to feed you, to give you water, to walk up in the grocery store when stuff gets tight and get what you need for your family. Just be prepared. That's part of them 3 P's. Protect, prepare, provide. Okay, so I'll definitely be sending out high vibrations to the Venezuelan people for them to definitely get what they need. Okay, so the last financial news story, this comes out of the Wall Street Journal, and I found this interesting because it says that central banks put squeeze on sovereign debt market. So I'm only going to read a little blurb out of this. It says that central banks are buying up debt. So meaning, let's break this down in common folk language. Okay, so I'm the U.S. corp government. I sell these bonds. And I remember back in the day when I was coming up, my godparents, when I got to a certain age, they would give me, they called them savings bonds back then. Of course, I wasn't savvy enough to know what they really were. They called them an investment, but they were basically debt. Okay, so those bonds, if you bought, let's say, $100 worth, if you held them for 15 years, let's say you got $10 on that. If you held them for 30 years, you got $20. Okay, so what that means is when those bonds mature and it's time for you to pay me out, you're not able to pay me. That's what defaulting on debt means with these nations. That's the state that Puerto Rico is in, because they've gone out, they sold these bonds not only to individual folk like ourselves, but they've sold it on the Wall Street market to investors for billions and billions of dollars. So when these payments come up on the particular bond, they can't make the damn payment. So that's the default. So some of them are writing down the debt. So meaning if you gave they stinking behinds $100, they'll say, well, you know what, now we're going to value that bond at $90, and then, you know, maybe we can pay you the $10 in 15 years. Maybe we can pay you the 20 if you in 30 years if you had a 30-year bond. But bottom line is you're still losing money because you added, you know, $10. Or they just default altogether, which Puerto Rico was doing. So you out of the $100 that you invested, you can damn sure forget about getting the $10 or the $20. Okay? So what the banks are doing, because as I just stated, the news story before, China and Russia, and China was the largest debt holder, or still is the largest debt holder of the U.S. court. They started dumping the debt, meaning cashing it in, saying, no, you give me my MF money now. I'll take what I can get now. They weren't buying any more of their debt. So that still leaves a lot of debt on the books for the U.S. court to try to raise fiat to keep this sick cycle going. So what's going on? In order to keep their head against the water because they're drowning, the central banks are turning around and buying their own debt.
Now that's amazing.
So that's what they mean when this headline, which is huge, for the Wall Street Journal to come out and say central banks put squeeze on the sovereign debt market. Anybody that's familiar with Jim Willie, he's been saying this shit for 2 years. He said it last year when China and Russia and a few other folk dumped a lot of the debt, that the central banks turned around and started buying up the debt to keep their head above the water. So I'm saying all this again, folk, to say now this stuff is starting to creep to the headline news. This is stuff that I've been seeing over the last 3 years in all of the, what they call alternative media, us conspiracy theorists. Now they're forced to start slowly bringing this out. And they're doing it in such a way that the average person that doesn't follow it or aren't savvy on investments aren't totally entering, understanding what they are saying. So pay very close attention. They are telling you it's over. We can't find nobody's playing in the sandbox with us anymore. They don't want the dollar. Everybody's on the yuan's job. They don't want to do any more investments with us. They're not buying any more debt. So the U.S. court and Europe are isolated from the rest of the world. Nobody wants to play with them financially. It has collapsed. So just pay attention, prepare, protect, and provide for your family. This is the time to start doing for self. Okay, so before I move on to the next section, did either Sis, Divinity, or Brother Wendell, you want to put anything on it?
You can move.
Okay. Okay, all right, so that's enough of the financial news. We're going to talk about something that I found interesting that RT News came out with, that Jupiter, and this came out on July 5th, and it says, the title of it is, it's a breaking news story. I just opened this article. Supposedly and allegedly, the State Department is to reopen the Clinton email investigation. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah, after they just earlier this week said, what the FBI said, they're not going to press any charges, so, therefore we're going to let it go. So now they supposedly opening up another case. So, yeah, all right, whatever. We'll see. We'll see what rolls with that. Okay, so back to the story. Yeah, that Hitlery stuff. Yeah, whatever, yeah. Okay, so this article came out July 5th, and the title of it is Burn Complete, Orbit Obtained, Juno Mission Ready to Unlock Jupiter's Secrets. So it says, after an almost 5-year journey, the U.S. Space Agency's solar-powered Juno spacecraft has arrived on Jupiter's doorstep and is ready to unlock all Jupiter's secrets. Jubilant scientists in NASA control room rose to standing ovation when Juno was confirmed to have entered Jupiter's orbit after burning off of the engine. Now the spacecraft expected to have slowed down to 1,212 miles per hour, positioning itself safely in the orbit and reoriented toward the sun to recharge its batteries. Ahead of the final descent into Jupiter's orbit, scientists were on the edge of their seats, hoping for Juno to complete the maneuver before it ran out of power. Once in orbit, Juno is to circle the planet 37 times over the next 20 months, flying some 31,000 miles from Jupiter's surface. And then it goes, I'm really just nervous that the whole orbit insertion rocket burn is going to work enough to get us into orbit and to allow us to turn back to the sun before we run out of battery power. Scott Bolton, the principal investigator for Juno with the Southwest Research Institute in San Antonio, said at a news conference ahead of this historical moment. So then it just goes on to say that NASA expects to receive the first images from Jupiter in a few days. And so we'll see what happens with that. So now as a part of this, I just found it fascinating that once again, they're bringing out these stories about going to these different planets. Number one, it's either one or two things in my mind. Either you lied, you really didn't go, because how you getting past that belt, okay, or you done already been there, you done already had the technology to go there, you knew how to get past the belt. And I found it interesting because we just talked about, what you call it, Brother Wendell, is it the Hamlet bracelet, which is the asteroid belt? So either they had looked.
Yeah, Hamlet
go
bracelet.
ahead. Okay,
Yes.
so either they had the technology to go past it, or they were just given the technology to be able to go past it. And why all of a sudden you so allegedly fascinated with the rest of these planets? So that's my little take on that. I just found it interesting that they supposedly and allegedly are orbiting Jupiter as we speak. Exactly.
Like the high.
Yeah, exactly. So that's about all. I know we're getting into like 8 o'clock, and I don't want to cut in any more of our time. So we're going to go ahead and get into tonight's topic. So, Sis Divinity, before Brother Wendell gets started with the Book of Enki, did you want to go ahead and get started with the Book of Jubilee for the family?
Absolutely, sis. Absolutely. All right. On my last introduction to the Book of Jubilees, we touched on the fact that Jubilees is a condensed version of Genesis, and its purpose is to give a timeline of events recorded in Genesis and Exodus. It starts with our Creator, God, revealing history and prophecy to Moses on Mount Sinai. and it ranges from the creation to the flood through the time of Abraham and ends with the exodus of the children of Israel. Excuse me. Okay, I'm starting with Moses ascends to Mount Sinai at 24:50 a.m., and that's about, 10 minutes to 1. It came to pass in the first year of the exodus of the children out of Egypt that God spoke to Moses, saying, "Come to me on the mount, and I will give you these 2 tablets, one of law and the other commandments, that he may teach to the people." There was a cloud that overshadowed for 6 days, and Moses was called out on the 7th day. The Creator God now predicts Israel's rebellion. While Moses was on the mount for 40 days and 40 nights, Yah Alalu taught him the earlier and latter history of the division of all the days of the law and testimony. He also said to Moses to incline your heart to every word which I will speak to you on this mount, and write them in a book so the generations will see that I have not forsaken them, even though they have indulged in all this evil and wrought in transgressing the covenant. He also says, he tells Moses that it will come to pass when all of these things will come upon them, that they will recognize that I am righteous, I am more righteous than they in their judgments and all of their actions, and they will recognize that I have truly been with them. So Yah tells Moses that he will bring them into the land which he swore to their forefathers, who was Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Unto your seed I will give a land flowing with milk and honey. They will eat, they will be satisfied, but they will turn to strange gods, to gods that cannot deliver them from all of their tribulation. They will forget all of my commandments. They will walk after the Gentiles, after their uncleanness, and after their shame, and will serve their gods, and they will prove unto them an offense and tribulation, an affliction and snare. And this is exactly where we are today, and we all know this. Many will perish and will be taken captive. They will fall into the hands of their enemies because they have forsaken my ordinances. Now, Yah also says they will worship each their own graven image. They will sacrifice some of their children to demons, and we know this to be true also. He also says, I will send a witness unto them that may witness against them, but they will not hear and will also slay the witness. They will abrogate. Abrogate means to cancel or repeal. They will abrogate and change everything so as to work evil before my eyes. At this point, Yah is also telling Moses, and after this, after we go through all of these difficulties of being enslaved by the Gentiles, he's telling Moses that we will return from amongst the Gentiles and that we will seek his face with all of our heart and soul. At this point, Yah Alalu says he will disclose to them abounding peace and righteousness, and they will be a blessing and not a curse. They will be the head and not the tail. Now, during the time when Father is telling all of this to Moses, he falls on his face and he cries and he prays, asking Yah Allah not to forsake his people. They are your heritage. They should not wander in the error of their hearts, and do not deliver them into the hands of their enemies, the Gentiles, lest they shall rule over them and cause them to sin against you. And he says, Moses is asking him to lift up your people, create them in an upright spirit, and let the spirit of Belial rule over them. The spirit of Belial means worthlessness and recklessness, and we can see that that is actually happening today also. And he tells Moses is still asking Yah, but they are your people and they are your inheritance. So at this point, you guys chime in if you have anything to say. Please feel free to do that. Now, Yah is predicting the Messianic kingdom, and he says unto Moses, I know their contrariness and their thoughts and their stiff-neckedness, and they will not be obedient till they confess their own sin and the sin of their fathers. Now, at that point, when I was reading about the sins of a father, I decided to look into that, and I came across Jeremiah 31:29, and it says, "In those days they shall say no more, the fathers have eaten of a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge." So I looked up sour grapes, and it means the scornful denial that something is attractive or desirable because it is unattainable, resentment and jealousy. Now, a question at this point, are they speaking of the dirty Moors at this point, or are we right where Brother Wendell is in reference to the sour grapes? Either one of you got a comment?
No, I'm just listening.
So what do you think?
Go ahead.
Do you feel that's where the sour grape is? Do you think that's what the sour grape is that our forefathers bit off?
Well,
what exactly did they? I was trying to figure out exactly.
You got sour grapes everywhere because, remember, we mixed in with everybody now.
That's true.
So it'll be hard to point those grapes out. But those sour grapes are everywhere. We need to dump the barrel.
That's what I was thinking of when they said. That's why I had to check into the sour grapes to find out exactly what it was they had done. And it all falls back to, I guess, them adoring whatever was going on with the Gentiles and all. That's part of the sour grapes, I know.
Yeah.
But I found that to be interesting. Okay. And then Yah goes on to say, "I shall create in them a Holy Spirit. I shall cleanse them, so they shall not turn away from me from that day unto eternity. And they will all be called children of the living God. Every angel and every spirit will know, yea, they will know that these are my children, and I am their Father in uprightness, and I will love them." He says to Moses, "And do you write down for yourself all these words which I declare unto you on this mountain, the first and the last, which shall come to pass in all division of the days in the law, and in testimony, and in the weeks and jubilees into eternity, until I descend and dwell with them throughout eternity. And the Lord will appear." I don't know about the word Lord. I would say Yah Allah Anut will appear to the eyes of all, and all will know that I am the God of Israel and the Father of the children of Jacob, the King on Mount Zion for all eternity, and Zion and Jerusalem will be holy. Now, the angel of the presence who went before the camp of Israel took the tablets of the division of the years from the time of creation, of the law and of the testimony, of the weeks of the Jubilees, according to the individual years, according to all the number of Jubilees, from the day of the new creation, when the heavens and the earth shall be renewed, and according to all the creation of the earth, until the sanctuary of the Lord shall be made in Jerusalem on Mount Zion, and all the luminaries, and luminaries is a body that gives off light, such as the sun, will be renewed for healing and for peace, for blessing for all the elect of Israel, and thus it may be from that day unto all the days of the earth. And I yield. That is chapter 1. Mm-hmm.
Okay, sis. So a bunch of stuff is going on here. Okay, so let's start out with, let's be clear, family, because I don't want folk to get on here and think this is Bible study. This ain't about Bible study. So whatever your belief system is, that is your belief system.
Exactly.
We are bringing you this information from the point of prophecy. Okay? So this particular book of Jubilee is explaining to you what the prophecy states, that the people that are the indigenous or that were put in charge of the land or the caretakers of the land fell out of power. Now, some say that could be from a spiritual level when we were on higher dimensions, because we were higher level beings, and then we chose to either break the laws of nature or we wanted to be in a lower density level, so we brought ourselves down. Okay, so if you don't want to use the actual physical aspects of the Bible, look at it from an allegory sense, okay, from a spiritual of nature sense. So the book is telling you why this particular chosen people failed, because they broke laws or covenants. So whether or not you want to take those as physical laws or covenants, or whether or not you want to take those as spiritual laws and covenants, that's how they fail. But the prophecy was written that those same people, because remember, they are the caretakers of this land and realm, that they were going to come back into power. And what is going to help them is the age that will be brought in. That is why at the very end it talks about the sun and how the sun is going to emit certain frequencies to help with the process of raising the vibration. That is not only to the people, but that is also to the planet. We've also talked about how the planets themselves know the deal. They know what their spiritual agreement is. They're even lined up to prepare or to be in balance with the shift. So I do want us to enter and understand that as we're bringing you these different ancient texts, to don't look at them from the aspect of the physical, but also look at them from the aspect of the spiritual. What does it mean spiritually in nature? So with that, sis, I yield.
That was Brother Wendell and I was just asking him what did he think the sour grape was. When it came to the sin of the fathers, I went and looked that up. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you were still on when I read Jeremiah 31. Did you hear that?
No, I have stepped away.
Okay, in those days they shall say no more, the fathers have eaten of a sour grape, and the children's teeth were set on edge. And I went to look up sour grape, and it says the scornful denial that something is attractive or desirable because it is unattainable. Resentful, jealousy, and that's why I was asking you all, what do you think the sour grape at that time was that the fathers had taken a bite of?
Okay, got you, and that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So
that was the
I know. Absolutely, and that's equivalent to eating the bite of the infamous apple, per se.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Although some may play advocate and say that apple was actually knowledge, but I'm pretty sure in the Lost Book of Enki we're going to get into that too, because I remember you speaking on that, Brother Wendell, so I ain't going to spoil the thunder. But I do want to bring on Oracle Tahuti is on the line, so he's with us. Greetings, Oracle.
Player. There you go, big old pimp.
Hard-working brother. That's me, brother. Hard-working brother. I didn't get a chance to do the research that I wanted to present tonight. My 2-year-old grandson got his femur bone broken at the daycare center. So I've been spending this week taking care of him so that his parents can go to work.
Okay.
But
sending love and light to that baby.
Yes,
and
yeah,
healing.
He's a little soldier. He's
Good.
doing well.
Good.
From memory, I'd like to expound a little bit on Tammuz, who the Etherian Anu appointed to handle some of the confusion that was occurring in our solar system. Wendell said that he would bring up who Tammuz actually is, and I'd just like to say that Tammuz is a galactical name. You have Yahwehians,
right,
and you have other higher beings, such as Anunnaki, who not only have a local name for their particular area that they're dealing in. Like, my birth name is Eli. I'm the third Eli.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Yes, in the realm of my family, they all call me Eli. But when
that's
I studied with Muslims, they gave me the name of Khalid ibn Walid. And in the realm of Dr. York and the Ansarullah Muslims and the Great Seal, I was given the name Tahuti. So it is according to the arena that you're dealing in, that is the name that you are given. And the galactic name for Yeshua, who is in Hebrew called Yeshua. In Arabic, he is called Isa ibn Maryam. In Christianity, he is called Jesus, which the correct pronunciation of the true scripture of the Holy Bible, his name is Yeshua. Now, Merciful Anu appointed Yeshua, who galactically is called Tammuz. That is his galactic name. That's the basic point I wanted to get to. So when we go to the Lost Book of Enki, which my brother Wendell is doing a fantastic job.
Yes.
And then we go to El's Holy Tablets. Even in Scripture itself, a lot of times we're talking about one individual that has different names according to what language or what book of reference you're coming from. So I'm very much interested in hearing what my brother Wendell has to say about Tammuz, but in Scripture, that is Yeshua.
Wow. Well, I learned something new. I've heard that name. It's always been with the Nubians, but I never particularly knew what it meant. So thank you for that, and thank you also for once again educating the family and reminding them that these particular names, I always call them, it's like titles.
Yes.
So like, Oracle Tahuti said, based on either the arena that you're in or the knowledge that you have graduated to. You earn those titles. Okay, so the Yahwehians, the El Holy Tablets describe them as a group of beings that are agreeables and disagreeables. The Yah meaning one, I can't remember if they were the agreeables, and the Wayans being the disagreeables. Okay, so they were liking that particular title to that. So thank you for that, Oracle Tahuti, to remind the family that we can't all the time think of, when we hear these particular names, as one individual, because many individuals can hold these names. They are titles.
Yeah.
So I'm just highly fascinating that Oracle Tahuti, name one of his names is Eli. It so perfectly fits him. Okay, so thank you for that, Brother Tahuti. Okay, Brother Wendell, you ready to get started?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're ready
Yeah.
to
Let me say something about those different names. I would say they're more attributes, because
you can put it like that. Descriptions, family.
Yeah, because at certain points, for instance, like in this book, Lost Book of Enki, Enki had several different names / attributes.
Mm-hmm.
And when he would do a certain thing, somebody would say, "This is who you are because you did that." You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that makes sense.
And something that I've been working on is putting together the family line, starting with on and on to and working my way down. And it's off the chain.
Wow. Well, I can't wait till you get that done. I know I'm going to be sitting back with my wig straight blown back.
Right now, this thing is about 12 pages long.
Wow. It does not surprise me. And the more and more we talk about these titles, these names, or these attributes, those of us that are melanated, now y'all know we got several names. We got the government name. We got your nickname. That Big Mama, somebody damn named you that nickname that only your family know, and you get mad as hell when somebody out their immediate family calling you by your nickname. That's fighting words.
Yeah.
Then as we go on our spiritual journey, we give ourselves particular attributes or titles. Then you got the names that the neighborhood know you by. If you was the candy lady that sold the candy, damn it, that was your nickname, Candy Lady.
Yeah.
Wow.
Same concept. Absolutely the same concept.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right, brother. I'm sorry, sis, go ahead.
That makes it easier for a lot of people to understand the way you just worded it.
Exactly. I thought about it. I said, well, hell, this ain't no different from what we do today. It's the same concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same exact concept. So, okay, Brother Wendell, the last time we left off, we had got over the point where, just the drama. Where Alalu and Anu had challenged for a wrestling match because Alalu was ticked because Anu had pretty much given his son things that he had promised Alalu to be the ruler of the domain over planet Earth. And in Leo, with his shit starting behind, set the whole thing up for Anu to come down and make this little ruling. So Alalu, they got into a wrestling match, and Anu, had beat him before. That's how he got the throne. He beat him again. Alalu got pissed, bit off his privacy. I was kind of thrown back why he bite the man's little privacy off.
No.
And Brother Wendell made a good point that, he wanted to make sure that he won't have any more heirs to pull this crap on. So they had the little trial. So interesting. Now they had the trial now. Okay? So the sentence was passed down, and everybody was like, well, go on and kill him, this, that, and the third. But his son-in-law, Enki, was like, no, don't do that. He was the only one. So basically, Anu's ruling was that Alalu had to be exiled from planet Earth to Mars. Okay, so one of Alalu's boys had, volunteered to go there with them so he wouldn't be alone. So I think that's where we left off, Brother Wendell. I just want to give the family a quick overview.
Yeah. And at that point, they had been on Earth 39,600 years.
I know. 39,000.
That's all I can say. 39,000 some years. Now, they was grown when they got there now. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
They were grown when they got there, so we don't know how, and especially in our time, we don't know how that, well, I guess we do know how it translates because Brother Wendell broke it down for us. But bottom line is they're living a hell of a lot longer than we are now. Which begs to question me. I know that something has been manipulated in the gene pool somehow, and I'm sure we'll get to that as well on, why that changed for us. So, okay, I yield, brother.
Yeah. Okay. Anu is headed back to Nibiru, and of course he drops off Alalu and Anzu, because Anzu was the one that said he was going to go stay with him while he's on the moon, so he wouldn't be alone.
So wait a minute, Anu dropped them off?
Yeah, the man got it. He ain't all bad, you know what I'm saying? He dropped them off on Mars. Gave them equipment and everything, provisions and everything. Whatever they needed, he gave it to them.
Dang.
Yeah, Anu wasn't mad because he can grow himself back. He was.
That's true. He could grow his privacy back.
He wasn't upset about that. He wasn't upset about that at all. All right.
It kind of made me cringe as a sister. I'm like, no, not that. But anyway, I digress. Okay.
Another thing too, but I just say something about it. We'll get to the details here shortly. It's going to be revealed why Anu and Alalu had that little friction between them. But anyway, here we go. All right. Anu arrives back on Nibiru and tell everybody what happened, but he wasn't seeking a pity party nor revenge, because the business at hand was to get that gold up there. So he had outlined a plan that he had, and he had planned on building way stations from Nibiru to Earth, with all the planets involved in it. So the first on Lamu to be fashioned, the moon for the plans also to be considered. On the other planets, were there circling host stations to set up, to chain constant caravan of chariots to supply and safeguard the gold from Earth without interruptions to Nibiru. Perchance gold elsewhere also fine. The counselors, princes, savants, and all considered his plan, and they saw promise in it and salvation in it. So they go to work, and the three major things that they did was they perfected their knowledge of the celestial gods / planets. They added a new vehicle, rocket ships, to their fleet of chariots and skyships, and they selected heroes to be taught for the task. Now the plans were beamed over to Enki and Enlil, and they were told to hurry the preparations on Earth. So they discussed whatever they had to discuss, and Enki appoints Algar as overseer of Eridu and goes to the Alalu to determine where he would start mining the gold. Enki calculates the heroes needed as well as the tools required. He designs machinery for the mission and requests that they be fashioned on Nibiru. Now, that piece right there confirms what we talked about last week. Did they have some kind of factory that they was building this stuff?
Yeah, that does confirm it. That does.
Now check this out right here. An earth splitter to make a gash in the earth and reach its innards by way of tunnels. Question: is this machinery a trencher or a tunnel boring machine? Number 2, that which crunches and that which crushes. Is this machinery a rock crusher? Is Enki revealing that he is a mechanical engineer?
Wow.
Was the first ever mining equipment built on Nibiru and brought to Earth? Now we got an idea of how they come up with the technology to bore all these tunnels we got all over this land, from one side to the other one. Now, do y'all realize that there have been truck drivers out here that have let people know that they can go underground and drive for 1,000 miles and end up on the other side of the country?
Yes, sir. And not only that, and Brother Kel, shout out to my brother, love you, Brother Kelly. And I was talking about, and he even called in one time on that, talking about how that we know for a fact in St. Louis there's an interest to this tunnel. And this brother that was a truck driver had went on Dr. Blair's show because he had the privilege of going through there. And that's where he saw them OMAC heads.
Yeah.
Whoa.
They got a lot of artifacts under there too.
Yep, and he said that because he said it was a lot of. He said the OMAC heads, because as they was counting up his little cargo on the little trailer or whatever, that he walked around in this tunnel, but he couldn't get all the way back there. He said because it was areas that they had armed guards, and it was canvases over some of the stones, and he pulled it back, and that's how he saw the OMAC heads. They had that covered. Right. And he said they had built in this underground tunnel a damn glass office building.
Yeah.
And he said he don't know how far back it went because they restricted where you could go and what you could see. So makes sense to me, brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Our ancestors were known as mound builders. Instead of building the pyramids above ground, the pyramids were built underground, and this predated the pyramids, the Giza pyramids. Our ancestors built underground pyramids prior to that time period.
Wow.
So they're throughout this north, central, and south of Mexum, these underground mounds, which are actually underground pyramids.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, scary.
Yeah. All right. So Enki also asked the savants to think about other matters as he sent them a list regarding matters of the health and well-being of the heroes. They were having 4 problems. This was one on the list. Heroes were experiencing dizziness from the quick day and night cycles of Earth. The atmosphere was generally good but wasn't balanced. Heroes were complaining about the lack of the variety of food. And Enlil was having problems dealing with the heat. Now, while Enki is making preparations in absolute, Enlil is surveying the Eden as he measured the valleys and plains when taking account of the mountains and rivers. He was seeking a place to establish a landing place for the rocket ships. Because of the heat, he was also searching for a shady and cool area. He takes a liking to snow-covered mountains to the north of the Eden. There's a cedar forest growing there with the tallest trees he ever seen. Question: is this a description of Lebanon and the Mount Ararat area? Because that's that's directly north of the Persian Gulf.
It very well could be.
Yeah.
Now, you know I'm finna map that, but go ahead.
Pull you up a map of Lebanon Mountains or either the Fertile Crescent. It'll show it to you. Now, when we're done with this, I have a bunch of maps and all that stuff included in the document. So, and links where you can go up on there and look further for yourself, because I done seen plenty of this.
Cool.
All right, now, this is going to be real interesting right here. This is an excerpt. The landing place and inlet spot. That's what I titled it. There above a mountain valley with power beams, the surface he flattened. Great stones from the hillside, the heroes quarried and cut to size. To uphold the platform with skyships they carried and emplaced them. With satisfaction that Enlil, the handiwork, considered. A work beyond belief, indeed it was, a structure of everlasting. Hold on just a minute. Is this the first and only account that I know of the use of laser equipment on Earth to cut trees and to grade the landscape? But that's what he just did. He just cut the trees down and then flattened the ground with some kind of laser weapon or laser equipment. Well, I bet a landscaper sure would love that.
Yeah.
I know that's right.
Now we got our little earth moving equipment. We think we got something. But you got one dude can stand out here and knock it all out in a matter of seconds.
Right.
Now, if you want to go and check this out, because the next question is this the origin of the remnants we now see in Baalbek, Lebanon? Also, is Enlil revealing that he was a structural engineer?
Yeah, and I pulled up the little map of Lebanon, and I searched under the Lebanon mountains, and I see exactly where you're going with that, brother.
Yeah.
Because it fits the description of backing up against the sea and then the mountainous regions with the snow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Now, if you search Baalbek, Baalbek, they'll show you that ruin. To see what happened over a period of time, like they do everything else. The people that don't want you to know that's what it is, they built on top of it.
Wow. Spell the mountain again, brother.
No, the area is called Baalbek, Baalbek. That's in Lebanon. It's right there. Okay. It's right there below the right there at the bottom part of the Lebanon mountain range. Because you got a Lebanon, then you got an anti-Lebanon.
Okay, because did they build a temple?
See, that stuff was built on top of it. That's where they landed.
That's what I think.
That was the landing pad. See, over the years, it's been built on top of. Look how big those stones are.
And it's interesting that the name of this particular location, because now we're getting more and more used to breaking down the etymology of words, and in that word is Baal.
Yeah.
Okay, so isn't that like one of the fallen angels? Name? So that's extremely, extremely interesting that they would choose to quote put a temple there, and then the area that they name it. Very interesting. Yeah. Okay, thanks, brother. That's very, very interesting.
Now, that was also part of the complex that they use as a landing or corridor where they put together the mission control and the spaceport, because this is actually one of the areas where they were coming in and out. So that's the first landing pad that they built.
And if anybody I'm sorry, brother, go ahead.
And it's still here today. They just over time, I think it was the Phoenicians or the Romans, one built on top of it.
Yeah, but if you go to Google Map and look at it, you see the indent.
Yeah.
You see it. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right. An abode for himself on the crest of the mountain was his desire. Of the tall trees and the cedar forest, long beams were prepared. Of them, the construction of an abode for himself he decreed. The abode of the north crest he named it. All right, at this time, there was a new chariot preparing to lead in Biru headed to Earth, and it was transporting new kinds of rocket ships and sky ships that Enki had designed. Also, there was a fresh group of 50 heroes on board, and among them were females trained as doctors and nurses by Nigma, her name meaning exalted lady, who was their commander. In succor and healing, she was greatly learned. In the treating of ailments, she excelled. To the complaints from Earth, she gave much attention. Her healing, she was preparing. Now, she was sent down there to take care of those problems that Enki had told them that they were having with the heroes. That's what they call the people they had down here to work the mines. Now, Nungal, the pilot of the new celestial chariot, followed the course of the previous chariots recorded on tablets of destiny. I told you that thing was like a road map.
Wow.
Yeah, the tablets of destiny is bad.
It safely reaches Lamu / Mars, and they land. A group of heroes follow a faint beaming as Nimba followed. They found Anzu laying dead by the lakeshore as his helmet is beaming the signal. Question, is this account of the first use of GPS or tracking devices on Mars? We know this already happened on Earth. Now it's going to happen on Mars. Nimba touches his face and checks his heart. She removes the pulsar and the emitter from their pouches. The emitter contains crystals that emit life-giving frequencies. She applies the pulsar and the emitter 60 times, and on the 60th time, Anzu opened his eyes and moved his lips. Then Nimba pours water of life upon his face and with his lips. We got a question. Is this the first ever that we know of use of a defibrillator?
Wow.
That's what that is.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what that is. She used it as a defibrillator.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That little stuff, we got it all.
Yep.
I mean, real, extremely, extremely old.
Wow. Wow.
See, I can't stress enough that whoever pick up this book, you can't just breathe through it because you'll miss all of this. You'll be lost.
And real quick, before I forget, Brother Wendell, I have ran across a site, and for those of you that are following along, or if you're having a hard time remembering the characters' names, now for me they're starting to sound familiar because we've gone through so many of the other ancient texts. So there is a blog spot actually that I ran across. It's called inkisfreedom.blogspot.com. So that's Enki, ENKISFREEDOM.blogspot.com. This site does an excellent job. It breaks down all of the characters in the Lost Book of Enki. So if you're having a hard time following along, as Brother Wendell is going through the book, you can have this site up, and any character that he is naming out of the book, it tells you who that character is and gives a description. So this will help you to follow along with the story, and then if you want to do some additional research. So, okay, thanks, Brother Wendell. I forgot that I had ran across that site last week to share.
Now, I had to warn the listeners that you're going to get some conflicting stuff because there's a lot of people out there that's got their own opinions about whatever. So you can't go to just one site. You're going to have to go to several to see if they corroborate. But I've done a lot of that.
Yes,
and
indeed.
And I found out certain things that I couldn't find in the book by doing that. Because there are certain questions I had about certain things, but when I go up on that web and search a particular name or a certain event, then I would end up running into it. But because there's a ton of information out there on the Anunnaki, plenty of it. It ain't like it's not unknown. There's a lot of people out there know about it.
Indeed.
All right.
Fantastic.
The next question behind that is this the first ever account of a resurrection performed on Mars? Now, what she did after she brought him back is she placed the food of life into his mouth. That's when he actually raises from the dead. Now,
the food of life, you said.
What is the water of life and what is the food of life? Is this the origin of water of life talked about in the Bible? John 4:10-26, Revelation 21:6, Revelation 22:1. Bread of life, John 6:22-59. Now, if y'all want to go through them scriptures, we can.
Gotcha.
It's a word. In other words, if I could paraphrase, brother, so the concept in the Bible of take it of this bread and take it of this wine or whatever, you're making the analogy, is that where that concept of bread of life came from, and water being also a source of life came from the Anunnaki with some type of science that they use to literally restore someone back to life.
All right, let's do this. Just to clarify that, let's go look at John 4:10-26.
Okay, beautiful. So let me pull it up. I'm sorry. You want me to pull it up, brother? I'm talking about some beautiful.
Yeah, I could, because I got it in the document, but I want to let somebody else.
Okay, I could pull it up. I can pull it up. I'm talking about some beautiful, and I ain't even pulled it up. Okay, so it is. You said John 4.
John 4:10-26.
Okay. 10. Okay. All right, let's see here. Work with me here. Okay, so it says, Jesus answered and said unto her, if thou knewest the gift of God and who it is that saith to thee, give me to drink, thou wouldest have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From whence then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself and his children and his cattle? Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up, into the everlasting life.
Yes.
The woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Jesus said unto her, Go call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband, and that saidest thou truly. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me that the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father. Ye worship ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipper shall worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. The woman said unto him, I know that Messiah cometh, which is called Christ. When he is come, he will tell us all things. Jesus said unto her, I that speak unto thee, thee am he. Okay, so that's the end of that. So that confirms that this, first of all, I got to play this little advocate for the woman here. First, let me get a little bomb sign. We're putting together that connection. Okay. So my 2 cents on the whole matter is, first of all, your description out of the Lost Book of Enki, what's the woman's name that gave the water?
Ninma.
Okay, so Ninma was the one that revived dude.
Right.
But yet the scriptures going to put it on somebody else, saying that Yehoshua, the woman came to Yehoshua asking for water, when in the Lost Book of Enki, she's the one reviving someone else. So that was interesting. So that goes to show you the conspiracy to take the woman out of her natural divine order.
Wow.
Okay, so that's just Rhonda's 2 cents in that matter. Okay, then the second part it clearly ties back to the Lost Book of Enki on this living water. So apparently this living water came from another galaxy or dimension, and it has a scientific reason behind it that's able to revive people from the dead. Now, I have heard rumors in quote conspiracy world that supposedly and allegedly that there is such technology that exists, but the corrupt ones, the disagreeable ones, demons, whatever you want to call them, are the ones that hoarding this technology for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've heard that too.
So that's real interesting. That's my 2 cents on that. That's very interesting, brother.
Go and get this one from Revelation 22:1. There was another one, 22:6, but go to 21:6. Go to Revelation 22:1.
22:1. Okay, let's read that one. Okay, Revelation 22:1 says, And he showed me, he showed me, when we know it means showed me, a pure river of water of life. What? Clear as crystal.
Oh,
Clear as crystal. That's what stood out to me. Proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb.
Wow.
Do you want to do bread of life? Because that one is kind of long. That's John 6:22-59.
That's kind of long. Can we paraphrase? Does it give the meat of it?
It's best you read the whole thing, because if you don't, you're going to miss it.
Okay, so what is it again, John?
John 6:22-59.
6:22.
Remember that scripture is telling you a sequence of events and a story, just like this book is.
That is very much. Yeah, 22. Yeah, if you want to get that one said.
If we're gonna make a connection to the scripture, we need to read it in its totality, because then if we don't, we just placing ourselves in the same position as these preachers out here, where they read 1-2 verses and scream and holler and jump up and down for an hour.
Right.
For the rest
of the entire hour.
Yeah, and ain't nobody learn nothing.
Okay, well, I've got it. John 6:22. On the following day, when the people who were standing on the other side of the sea saw that there were no other boat there except, and I'm reading from the new version, that's why it sounds different. Mm-hmm. Okay. Saw that there was no other boat there except that one which the disciples had entered, and that Jesus had not entered the boat with his disciples, but his disciples had gone away alone. However, other boats came from Tiberias, near the place where they ate bread, after the Lord had given thanks. When the people therefore saw that Jesus was not there, nor his disciples, they also got into the boats and came to Capernaum, seeking Jesus. And when they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did ye come here? Jesus answered them and said, Most assuredly I say to you, you seek me, not because you saw the signs, but because you ate of the loaves and were filled. Do not labor for the food which perishes, but for the food which endures to everlasting life, which the Son of Man will give you. Because God and the Father has set his seal on him. 28. Then they say to him, What shall we do that we may work the works of God? Jesus answered and said to them, This is the work of God, that ye believe in him whom he sent. Therefore they said unto him, What sign will you perform then, that we may see it and believe you? What work will you do? Our fathers ate the manna in the desert, as it is written, he gave them bread from heaven to eat. Then Jesus said unto them, Most assuredly I said to you, Moses did not give you the bread from heaven, but my Father gives you the true bread from heaven. For the bread of God is he who comes down from the heaven and gives life to the world. Wow. Then they said to him, Lord, give us this bread always. And Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. He who comes to me shall never hunger, and he who believes in me shall never thirst. But I said to you that you have seen me, and yet do not believe. All that the Father gives me will come to me, and the one who comes to me I will by no means cast out. For I have come down from the heavens, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. This is the will of the Father who sent me, that of all he has given me, I shall lose nothing, but shall raise it up at the last day. 40. And this is the will of him who sent me, that everyone who sees the Son and believes in him may have everlasting life, and I will raise him up at the last day. The Jews then complained about him because he said, I am the bread which came down from the heavens. And they said, Is not this Jesus, the son of Joseph, whose father and mother we know? How is it then that he says, I have come down from the heavens? Jesus therefore answered and said to them, do not murmur among yourselves. No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draweth him, and I will raise him up at the last day. It is written in the prophets, and they shall all be taught by God. Therefore, everyone who has heard and learned from the Father comes to me. Not that anyone has seen the Father, except he who is from God. He has seen the Father. Most assuredly, I say to you, he who believes in me has everlasting life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate the manna in the wilderness and are dead. Wow. This is the bread which comes down from the heavens, that one may eat of it and not die. 51. I am the living bread which came down from the heavens. If anyone eats of this bread, he will live forever. And the bread that I shall give is my flesh, which I shall give for the life of the world. 52. The Jews therefore quarreled among each other, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Then Jesus said unto them, most assuredly I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the man of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. My flesh is food indeed, and my blood is drink indeed. You say 59, Wendell?
Yeah.
Okay. 56. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood abides in me, and I in him. As the living Father sent me, and I live because of the Father, so he who feeds on me will live because of me. 58. This is the bread which came down from heaven, not as your fathers ate the manna and are dead. He who eats this bread will live forever. 59. These things he said in the synagogue as he talked in Capernaum.
Wow. Okay.
I know. I know.
Okay, sis, I'll let you give your synopsis of it. I'm like, this is a different perspective looking at this now.
Because the bread that Jesus is mentioning here is not his physical flesh. He's meaning the word that he's given to the people. That's what I am gathering from here. He doesn't mean his physical body. And this is what confused a lot of the people.
Right, and I guess where I'm making the analogy is, this particular Bible is saying one thing, but if you tie it back to the Lost Book of Enki, I'm going to keep reiterating. First of all, it was a sister that was given the bread of life and the crystal water. And in the Bible, it kept saying it came down from heaven. What are the names of the Anunnaki? Anunnaki means gods from the skies.
Mm-hmm. And what is the heavens? We all know that, right? Where is heaven?
Between your legs.
I was trying to be good because I already talked about privacy tonight.
Okay.
Hey. One thing that's very important about that scripture right there. You got to think of one thing. You can say that whole thing in one word. Now, I could be wrong with 1,000 left shoes, but I got to tell you.
1,000.
Well, he's talking about the bloodline.
Very good point. Very good point. And that's why when Sis said, and we know where heaven is, and I got silent because I was trying to be good for a change. The bloodline is passed through whom?
The mother.
The woman.
Yes.
So that's why she would give the bread of life and the water of life. So it has several meanings. It could have very well been the scientist. What's her name, Brother Wendell?
Nenma.
Very well could have been Nenma with the little stuff from the spacecraft, Nibiru, reviving people with. But then also symbolically, it is reminding folk that the woman is the one that carries the bloodline.
She absolutely is.
And it's how the bloodline will continue. So, yeah, Brother Wendell, I'm glad you made us reread that, because that's all I can say. That was pretty good.
It was.
That was very good.
Yeah.
There were 2 Anunnaki scientists who lived in Atlantis, and it was a male and female scientist, Anunnaki scientists, and they both worked together and learned to conquer death. Okay, and these were Anunnaki scientists in Atlantis, the lost city of Atlantis. Yes.
I know.
Wow. And I actually had a clip, Master Teacher Morris Donaldson, he put something out earlier today, and earlier this week, and it talks about King of Kings. I'm not going to play it tonight because time has gotten away from us. I'll play it next week, but it ties into how that there is a civilization, and Brother Tom always talks about this inner earth. That's the same thing as the inner earth concept, where you have these higher dimensional beings that still exist there today, and they are a highly advanced citizen, not citizens. They are a highly advanced civilization with a lot of technology. So, it would not surprise me that some of the technology that we are discussing tonight, and one of those being everlasting life, that these particular beings hold that knowledge. So that's very interesting.
That really brought that together.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I'm glad Brother Wendell kind of brought home the point to read John 6:22, because I will never look at that particular scripture the same. It lines up perfectly with the Lost Book of Enki. So absolutely. Thank you for that, brother.
All right, we got an excerpt here. Alalu's burial site and the promise of Anu. About Alalu, they him then inquired. Of Alalu's death, Anu them told. He led them to a great rock from the plain heavenward protruding. I had to just put a note in here. I was just walking around and talking like nothing ever happened. All right, there to them what had happened he was telling. Alalu, soon after the landing, from unremitting pain to scream began. From his mouth, his innards, he was spitting. In agony, he peered over the wall. Now, he's telling them what, the events that happened up until he died.
Okay, to Alalu's death, because Alalu is exiled on Mars. Right.
Yeah. Now, he said he was in agony, spitting, and he peered over the wall. I had asked, what wall? Apparently, they had built a structure to live in while waiting for Alalu to die. But what was the purpose of the wall? What was the purpose of the wall? Was it some sort of partition with the dwelling like in a hospital, or where did they get the materials to build a dwelling? Remember, when Anu dropped them off, he gave them tools, he gave them some material, and he gave them food to eat.
Right.
So something else is going on Mars. That's the point.
Wow. Right. And who's to say that and you probably get into it so you don't have to jump ahead if I am jumping ahead. So if Mars at that point when Alalu and Anzu was there, that it eventually became that way station.
Right.
For other spacecrafts to go ahead on and fuel up and this, that, and the third, get some snacks, whatever.
Yeah. So he led him to a great rock, like a mountain from the plain heaven rising. In the great rock, a cave I found, Alalu's corpse therein I hid. Its entrance with stones I covered. So was Anzu to them, saying, they followed him to the rock. The stones they removed, the cave they entered. Inside, what Alalu remained, they found. He once was a Nibiru king, was a pile of bones in the cave now lying. For the first time in our annals, a king not on Nibiru has died. Not on Nibiru was he buried. So did Ninmah say. Let him in peace for eternity rest, she was saying. They the cave's entrance again with stones covered. The image of Alalu upon the great rock mountain with beams they carved. They showed him wearing an eagle's helmet. His face they made uncovered. Let the image of Alalu forever gaze toward Nibiru that he ruled, toward the earth whose gold he discovered. Is this the account of the faces on Mars?
Mars, yep. That's what it sounds like to me.
Is this the revelation of how they cut and or carve stone on Earth? Is this the personal account of the use of laser equipment on Mars? They called that thing with laser equipment.
That's a good point. And you know what also came to mind? That now Alalu wind up passing, right?
Yeah.
On Mars. So now this is Rhonda's little opinion, and as Brother Wendell said, I could be wrong as 1,000 left shoes. So now everybody else still living. Anu and them still kicking it up, ha ha he and living their life, this, that, and the third. So was Alalu part of his exile? Was he also cut off from the technology of everlasting life?
Yes.
I'm just putting that out there.
Alalu bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah.
Oh, you wrong for that.
Hey, he bit off more than he could chew, but he laughed about it after the fact. You remember after Anu's boys came and broke it up, he was laughing.
So he kicked himself out of the kingdom, per se, if you want to call it.
That's what he did.
That particular kingdom. And so they like, you pretty much on your own. We're not giving you no access to the technology. Whatever little material we drop off here for you, y'all pretty much on your own. Because if you think about it, and you're right. That's what exile is. And if you think about it, Anu and Alalu had to be around the same age. So we can't say that it was because of age. It was, that's just my little 2 cents. It had to be because he was cut off from the technology to have that everlasting life. So very, very, very interesting.
Yeah. All right. So Ninmah, in the name of her father, Anu did declare, as for you, Anzu, to you, Anu the king, his promise shall be kept. 20 heroes with you here shall remain, the way stations building to begin. Rocket ships from earth, the golden ore shall here deliver. Celestial chariots from here, the gold to Nibiru shall then transport. Hundreds of heroes their abode on Lamu shall make. You, Anzu, shall be their commander. Thus did the great lady, in the name of her father Anu, to Anzu say, my life I owe to you, great lady. So was Anzu saying, my gratitude to Anu shall limits not have. From the planet Lamu, the chariot departed toward Earth. The journey, it continued. All right, we're going into the 5th chapter. After taking care of business on Mars, the chariot departs heading for Earth. They make circuits around the moon, exploring the possibility of way stations there. Then Nungal, the pilot, onward toward the Earth, makes circuits around the Earth to slow down for landing in the waters beside Eridu. Instead of having to wade or swim to dry land, they were able to leave the chariot and set foot on a quay that Enlil had built. Enlil and Enki greet Nimba with hugs and lock arms with Nungal. They were greeted with shouts from the heroes present that were already on Earth. They unload the chariot of its cargo consisting of rocket ships, sky ships, tools that Enki designed, and all kinds of provisions. Nimba tells Enki and Enlil about the events on Mars. They were both relatively disappointed, and she reminds them that Anu's decision is followed by saying that this is Anu's decision. His word is unalterable. In other words, you can't change the decision that the king has made.
Mm-hmm.
All right? She then whips out seeds from her pouch as she tells her brothers that she had brought remedies for the illnesses that the heroes were experiencing. She tells them that the seeds must be sown in the soil in a cool place and nourished by warmth and water, and they will produce fruit by which an elixir shall be made for them to drink. Is this the first account of holistic or organic medicine in practice on Earth, or is this where Big Mama learned to make her remedy?
I say both, but all of that, all this organic stuff that folk running around here claiming, Big Mama and them been knowing that.
They've been knowing it.
But they have
I remember back when we were coming up. If we sprained an ankle or a knee or anything, Big Mama would do two things, one or two things. She would go in there and get that rag out the dishwater and rub it on there, and in about 15 minutes, you good.
Yep.
I'm serious. If it was a real bad sprain, she put some of that witch hazel on there, and in about 15, 20 minutes, it'll burn, but that thing will be good. Now, that witch hazel they got today is not witch hazel.
No, it is not.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing like the real deal.
Mm-hmm. And my great grand Big Mama, what I was told was what she would do is if you had a really, really bad sprain, she would tell you to go out in the backyard, dig a hole, stick your foot in it, or whatever part, if your wrist or whatever, in that hole, cover it up, and she would tell you how long to stay in there, and then once she told you to pull it out, you were good. So when I heard this story years ago as a child, I was sitting there thinking, I don't get the relevance. But now, sure enough, as we're back to coming into knowledge of all this stuff, I said, man, shout out to my great-grandmother. She was teaching about grounding and using the energies from the planet to heal.
Yep.
So I totally agree with you. This stuff not only goes back through, our immediate ancestors, Big Mama, great-grandma and them, which they got it from who they're calling the quote, Indians, which, the indigenous melanated people are the Indians. All of that stuff kept being passed down. But as we got further away from, as we call our roots, and took on this synthetic medicine that we know today, which is really poison, that knowledge was lost. But now, because of this medicine has started to sicken us, and we've started to realize that now a lot of us are going back to that, what we're now calling holistic, organic approach. Right. And a lot of us are starting to make those connections. Hell, that ain't new. Big Mama and them used to say, X, Y, Z. So that's very interesting to know that it goes back further thousands and we got to say millions, maybe even billions of years ago. Very interesting.
All right. This time you're full of excerpt. Here we go again. Is Elio yields to baby mama? All right. The place that the place that for this is perfect, I will show to you, Enlil said to her. It is where the landing place was fashioned, where an abode of cedar I have made. And Enlil's skyship, the two of them, Enlil and them with skyward sword, to the landing place in the snow-covered mountains by the cedar forest, brother and sister went. On the great stone platform, the skyship landed. To Enlil's abode they went. Once inside, Enlil embraced her. With fervor, he kissed her. Oh, my sister, my beloved, Enlil to her whispered. By her loins he grabbed her. Into her womb his semen he did not pour. Of our son, the nurture, would I bring you? Nimrod to him softly said. A young prince he is, for adventure he is ready to join you on earth, he is prepared. If here you stay, let us, the nurture, our son, bring over, Enlil to her said. To the landing place, heroes were arriving, rocket ships by sky ships to the platform they carried. From the pouch of Nimrod the seeds were obtained, in the valley soil they were sown, a fruit from the Nibiru on earth to be grown. In the skyship, Enlil and Nimrod to Eridu returned. On the way, Enlil to her the landscape showed, the Eden's extent to her he showed. From the skies, Enlil to her his plans explained. An everlasting plan have I designed, to her he was saying. That which for all time construction shall determine, I have laid out. Away from Eridu, where dry land begins, my quarter shall be. Larsa will be its name, a place for directing it shall become. On the bank of the Baranu, the river of deep waters, will it be located. By the way, that is Euphrates. I went and did research on that. That's the old name of the Euphrates.
Okay.
A twin thereof, a city shall in future arise, Lagash, I shall name it. Between the two on the plans a line have I drawn. 60 leagues thereafter, a healing city shall come into being. Remember, a league is 3 miles, so that's 180 miles away. A city of your own, it shall be, Shurabak. Today it's called Shurapok, the haven city, I shall name it. On the center line, it shall be located. To the fourth city, it shall be leading. Nibruki, today it's called Nippur, Earth's crossing place, I will name it. A bond heaven, earth, in it I shall establish. The tablets of destinies it shall house. All missions it will control. With Eridu, 5 cities which there shall be counted. To eternity they shall exist. On a crystal tablet, Enlil to Nimrod, the master plan was showing. On the tablet she saw more markings. Of them, of Enlil she inquired. Beyond the 5 cities, a chariot place, Sapar, I shall henceforth build. From Nibiru to earth directly to arrive. Enlil to her responding, why by Anu's plans for Lamu Enlil was bewildered, Nimrod then understood. My brother, magnificent is your plan for the 5 cities. To him, Nimrod was saying, the creation of Shurabak, a city for healing, as my abode, for my own to be, is a matter for which I am grateful. Beyond that plan, do not transgress your father. Your brother, too, do not offend. You are wise as well as beautiful, Enlil to her said. Now, what he was doing, what he was showing her that he had planned was the same type of configuration that he had set up there where he had built the landing platform. See, they had 2 spaceports. Okay. One down there near the Persian Gulf, and one up there in the Lebanon Mountains. It was all linked up. They had 2 different spots. Those where those portals are. And they was coming in those 2 places.
Got you. And that I'm sorry.
In the document, I have a map to show you all those cities. And I have the designs of the spaceports, the name of them, and all that stuff is in there. All that information is out there.
Okay,
but
so
that goes.
I'm sorry.
But I have all this stuff in this document in my notes. Yeah, go ahead.
Beautiful. So that goes back to that whole area, because let me just remind the family just real quickly what's up in the Persian Gulf. Okay, so this should ring bells with people. So the Persian Gulf, you have Iran there, and I see, what did you call the one name that started with the B, Brother Wendell, that you said that it was renamed?
You was talking about the Baranu.
Okay, yes.
Baru Nuna. That's the Euphrates River. That's the old name of the Euphrates River. That's the oldest name I can find.
Okay, that makes sense. So you have in the Persian Gulf, family, if you pull up a map, you're going to go, oh, because you have Iran right there. You have Saudi, right in the Persian Gulf. You have Saudi Arabia. You have Iraq. You have Kuwait. And you have the United Emirates. So
the UAE.
Yeah, the UAE. So and then you have a couple of other things there, as Brother Wendell said. So those of you that follow along about the Gulf War, let's start with the Gulf War, which was Iraq. Okay. So now some say that it was a couple of reasons why Dog-Faced Bush and them had went over there, okay? But the main spiritual reason that they went over there, because they wanted control of those ports, those spiritual ports.
Yep.
Now, some say it was a physical gateway, and every time I think a spiritual gateway, I think about the Stargate that they can build, and that's the little round circles. You all can look it up. They even did a movie on it, even a television series on it. Some say that they went over there and snatched that Stargate to control, to jump in and out of the different dimensions and control who can come in and to bring their own folk in. Okay? So that's what Brother Wendell was referring to, the ports. The one was up in Lebanon. The other one is in the Persian Gulf. Now, just to refresh the family's memory, when we were in the Book of Enoch, we talked about how Enoch had went to the Lebanon mountains to take the petition of the fallen angels, and that's where they were hiding in Lebanon. So now that could be twofold. That could definitely be over in the Lebanon area where we're mentioning or it could be on our side of the house too, because remember, there is an ancient map on our side, meaning the Americas, where we are now, that has some of the exact same names that now reside on the Middle Eastern side. Okay, so just also keep that in mind when, we're reviewing the story, and I will get a copy of that ancient map and put it out there on Truth UnCompromised for the family, so you'll have a copy of this as well, and you'll see that a lot of the cities, all of the cities that we see over in Europe, that we see actually for the rest of the planet, were at one time names of cities in the Americas as well. So, okay, with that I yield. I just want to put that out there for the family to kind of keep that in mind as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
About that Gulf War too, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but there's a lot of people out there who know another reason why they went over there. It's been said that the first thing they did when they got there, they went and raided that museum and stole all the artifacts out of it.
Yes, I've heard that also. Yep, I've heard that also. Absolutely.
So, in other words, that sort of proves that this information right here is on the money.
Yeah, because, you know, when I first started to hear about that, I really couldn't wrap my mind around it. Then it started to make more sense. And then when you had mentioned it early on when we started the creation story myths, I'm like, oh, man, I remember them talking about some ports over in Iraq. And Saddam was housing all of those sacred artifacts, and he knew what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And when they went over there and toppled him, whatever, that they had wind up stealing them and taking them for themselves. So now my opinion, and I could be wrong as 1,000 left shoes, as Brother Wendell says, that because we are in the age that we are, now mind you, remember the years that they went to the Gulf War. The first one was back in the 90s. The second one was right after their manufactured ass 9/11 stuff. Both of those time periods were very, very important because from a spiritual perspective, a lot of important stuff happened. And Brother Master Teacher Bobby Hemmett broke that down. In the 90s, the prophecy stated that a Messiah was coming. Okay? So they wanted to control that portal again because they wanted their disagreeable folks to be able to jump in and out of realms to try to change the timeline of the prophecy. That's what that whole Gulf War was about the first time from a spiritual perspective. Okay? So they thought, supposedly and allegedly, that they had changed course. But they knew that the most important age was coming up, because that would have ushered in a lot of the energies coming to this planet that had never been seen before. So then that's why they wanted to get their ass back over to Iraq to once again try to take control of those portals, thinking that they can control the dimensions, who comes in and out. Well, again, you know, although they know the prophecy, they always call themselves thinking they're going to change it. But what they just cannot get through their head, they can't change it. Because it's already not only been written, but it really technically already happened. Already happened. It's already done. It's already in place. We're just living it out in the physical. We have to manifest it into fruition. Okay? So they keep missing the point that although they took their raggedy asses over there, calling themselves controlling that portal, it did not matter because it was shut down from any of their folk coming through.
Wow.
And they're the ones that's trapped here in this third dimensional density. Okay, so again, that's just Rhonda's 2 little cents on the whole matter of those portals, the association with the Gulf War, why they did what they did. So with that, I yield, brother.
Yeah, okay. Meanwhile, Enki is trying to figure out where to build his house in the Absolute, which is down in South Africa. He measured the region and surveyed its districts. This land is described as distant from the Eden, or the Persian Gulf area, rich, bursting with riches, perfect in fullness, and with mighty rivers rushing across the region. Enki built his house near the rivers. This is where Enki set up the gold mining operation. He first put in place the earth splitter and that which crunches and that which crushes. The plan was to mine the gold in South Africa, take it to the landing place in the Cedar Mountains by sky ships, transport it to the way station on Mars, and then on to Nibiru. If you have a map of that region, you'll see how far they transported that stuff to the initial landing spot. It was a busy time as the two brothers were putting things in place to execute Anu's plan. More heroes were arriving, some assigned to the Eden and some assigned to the Abzu. Enlil had built Larsa and Lagash as well as Shuruppak for Nema. She had a host of young female healers with her in the city. Enlil was building Nibruki, the bond heaven earth, as mission control. Enki was traveling back and forth from the Abzu to Eridu supervising. On Mars, the same thing was going on as construction was progressing and the heroes were arriving. This activity lasted for 2 shars, 7,200 years. At this point, the Nibirians had been on Earth 13 shars, including the time that Alalu was here alone. 13 shars is 46,800 years. All right, now we got an excerpt. Anu decrees who is who. Then the big moment came on the 7th day, the Sabbath, which had been established by Enki as a day of rest. Everywhere heroes assembled as they overheard a message from Nibiru from Anu. They were assembled in the Eden where Enlil was in command, including Nimrod and her host of young ones, as well as Algar, who was the master of Eridu, and Abgal, the commander of the landing place. In the Abzu, Enki, Ishmael, his vizier, or that was his advisor, Nungal, the pilot, and all the heroes were assembled and listening. On Mars, all the heroes stood with their commander, Anzu, and listened to Anu's message. There were 600 on Earth and 300 on Mars, a total of 900 heroes and their leaders. Here's the message. Heroes of Nibiru, you are the saviors. The fate of all is in your hands. Your success shall be for eternity be recorded. By glorious names you shall be called. Those who on earth are shall as Anunnaki be known. Those who from heaven to earth came. Those who on Lamu are Ijiji shall be named. Those who observe and see, they shall be. All that is required is ready. Let the gold start coming. Let Nibiru be saved.
Wow.
Okay, so go ahead.
All right, let me read my little questions here because I got a few of them right here.
Yeah.
First question: is this the origin of what we know as nationality? Because he made a distinction he made a distinction between the ones on Mars and the ones on Earth. All right. From previous conversation, we know that the Ijiji called the Grigori in the Book of Enoch are the fallen angels, known as the Watchers. Remember when Nema told Anzu that he would have hundreds of heroes with him on Mars? Did she already know who Anu was going to send to Mars? Was she referring to the 300 fallen angels at that time, but just didn't tell Anzu who the 300 would be? Was it part of Anu's plan to send them to Mars to serve the Nibirians on their mission rather than leave the 20 heroes there? Remember, Enki tested the air quality on his way to Earth, and it was insufficient, but the water was good. Knowing this information, was Anu reducing the risk on heroes and increasing the efficiency of the operation by leaving only 21 heroes, including Anzu, on Mars, and were they transferred to Earth as the 300 were arriving? The air quality, more than likely, would not affect the fallen one.
Dang. I know.
You see how much information you got out of just 4 or 5 sentences?
Okay, and we're going to have to stop at this point and pick off because we threw a lot. Because you just straight dropped the bomb on us with this last little part. So let me wrap my mind around it.
Hey, hold on. We down to some real important information.
Man.
I tell you what, look here, let's do this right here. I got about a paragraph, well, I'll say 2 paragraphs. That's real important.
Okay, sure. Go over that, but before you do, because I just want to make sure I have it straight up in my mind. So what you're trying to say is, that, first of all, let's start with when Anu made the little message. He was back in Nibiru, right?
Yeah, he was on Nibiru.
Right, he was on the 19th galaxy. So he made this announcement as a little straight-up broadcast, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's not sleep on that, family. He was making the little broadcast from the 19th galaxy all the way back to Mars and the Earth. So then that's when he started categorizing people. So saying those that are on Mars, you're known as the Jubilees, right?
Yep.
And then those that are on Earth, are they the Anunnakis?
That's what he said. He gave them that name.
I just want to make sure Sister Head is straight up, properly up in my mind. So now I heard what you said, brother. So if you saying, is this the first thing as the races, right? What we know today is race. I'm going to take a little nationality.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
let's even go with nationality.
Either one, yeah.
Okay, nationality, race, however you want to say it. So now I'm going to go deep with this.
Yeah.
Is that also a symbol of how the bloodline would be split?
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
That's deep.
Yeah, that is.
Wow.
The agreeables
all right, brother.
And the disagreeables.
The agreeables and the disagreeables. There you go.
Now that clears up what a lot of people out here say. They say that all the Anunnaki were fallen angels. That's crap, according to this.
And I keep telling people, because I thought that they were split, but now the Book of Enki clearly is, indicating that the fallen, which would make sense because we know Alalu was sent to Mars. It was the exile place. It was the truck stop, and it was also a place of exile. So if he sent these other 300 folk, we know that there was hundreds of fallen angels. Some say 200, but the 200 were only the leaders. So 300, that sounds about right. So that's, to me, clearly a sign that the Gigi, those are marked the disagreeables, and then the Anunnaki, who were on planet Earth that came from the 19th galaxy, were marked the agreeables. But both of them, let's still be clear, they still came from the same place. But because one group was clowning, they got exiled. And so, therefore, they got classified as their own little nationality, and that's where the bloodline started to split.
Well, we got to remember a very important point here.
Whew.
They are on Mars. They get the label Igigi, or fallen ones. That means they fell a long time ago. Which means the original creation did not happen on Earth.
No,
yes.
it didn't.
No, it didn't. And we know that from El Holy Tablets also. Yes, the original creation. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah.
Totally agreed.
There he is.
So they were dipping and dabbing, kicking up dirt in another galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, brother, we ready for the last paragraph. Ooh, you done blew my wig back on that one.
All right. With all the activity at this point, we have to pump the brakes. We have an instance where we must ask the question, is the past meeting the future? You be the judge of that.
It's the past.
I bet is the past meeting the future. And Sister Divinity, didn't we not just have this conversation like 3 hours ago?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow.
All right.
That's amazing.
All right. The deal is that there is a little background info on Enki, Enlil, and Nimrod. They're all Anu's children. They all have different mothers. Enki's mother is Ninlu, a concubine. Enlil's mother is Antu, Anu's spouse, making Enlil the legal heir, even though he's not the firstborn son by the law of succession.
Right.
Nimrod's mother is Namu, a concubine, making her half-sister of both Enki and Enlil. Now, I had to go and research and find out who her mother was. Now, Nimrod was the firstborn daughter of Anu, indicated by her name hyphen title, and described as beautiful, full of wisdom, and a quick learner. All right, pump the brakes. We got a situation here. Nimrod is the firstborn with a capital F daughter. The same as when a male child is firstborn son. What does this mean? Remember one clue. Enki is Alalu's son-in-law. Anu chose Enki, who was named Ea at the time, to his spouse Nimrod, thereby setting the stage for their offspring son to become the legal successor by the law of the seed. But she was, quote-unquote, into Enlil. They have a son together. They named him Ninurta. Is this why Enlil and Enki have a little tension between them? This angered Anu, and as a result, he forbade her to ever marry. Enki keeps it moving, and his spouse is a princess named Damkina. They have a son and heir, Marduk, meaning one in a pure place born. Pump the brakes. Damkina is referred to as a princess. That means her father had to be king at some point. That means her father is Alalu. Is that the real reason she stopped on Mars? Because that was her daddy.
Wow. Oh, that makes sense.
Now, the
that
real
makes
kicker.
A lot of sense.
The real kicker is that Ninma is an attribute of Damkina. Remember, in the celestial battle, Tiamat had manifested the 11 helpers and a tablet of destiny that she placed on Kingu's chest. We know that Nibirians later create beings by using their DNA with an earthling creature to create a Lulu, or working to mine the gold.
Right.
They didn't learn it when they arrived on Earth. They already knew that. Apparently they were doing the same thing on Nibiru. Does this mean Alalu father Nimma with Namu? Was Nimma some type of clone of Damkina? Here's the clue. Now, I had to go and research to find this out, because I had to figure out who her mother was. Remember when Alalu and Anu made the deal for kingship? They agreed. Now, this wasn't in this book. I had to go find this elsewhere, because I tried to find out who her mother was.
Okay.
This is where I found out in other sources. they agreed that his daughter would marry his son to continue the succession, and part of that deal was that Alalu had to give his daughter to Anu as fealty. Looking at the etymology of fealty, we can conclude that Alalu knew that Anu was correct in his explanation of his position within the bloodline, which was a more direct link than his. Alalu sort of got his arm twisted in order to remain on the throne. He also knew that Anu would challenge him at some point, and he was right. I have a question here. Who was the mother of Nimrod? I got a link to that information. A couple of links, as a matter of fact, and I got like 3 links to Damkina. Ehud never married on the Nibiru. He got married on Earth. However, it was a weird sequence of events. The account of that is one of rape, exile, and love that brought forgiveness, and the more sons that were only half brothers. I'll stop right there.
Wow.
Because now, on further down, all that stuff that we just went over is going to be explained.
Okay. So we're going to have to, we're going to have to pick up there next week. But I do want to just real quick. Let me open up the phone line first. Hold on a second. Okay, so if you have a question or comment, I know we got in a lot tonight. Press *6 to get in the queue. Let me open back up Oracle to Hootie right quick. So *6 to get in the queue. So, okay, in 907, I see you, sweetheart. I'm coming to you in just a second. Okay, so my only thing is, I know we're going to pick up next week, but when you were naming the daughter, and you said that she was forbidden to marry, and she was the firstborn, and it was interesting that you broke down her name, and she had a hyphen in her name, okay? And then it made me think, is this where today many women get the idea to hyphenate their names? Now, I've just recently learned, as I was studying trust, that women should hyphenate their name because you are also carrying on your bloodline, and you want to make sure, since women are the holders of the wealth by bloodline, that you always make recognition of your bloodline, so you hyphenate your name of your bloodline's name, as and you taking on your husband's name. So I found that very interesting, that her name was hyphenated, because she wanted to make sure that folk know that she is of royalty. And then I found it interesting that her father, Anu, was all up in her business and basically forbade her from marrying, and so he basically created the first single mother that we know of on record. So I just found those 2 things interesting. So, okay, so let me bring on 907. Here we go. Okay, 907, your line is open.
Yes, shalom, love, peace, truth, freedom, justice, one heart, one mind, one spirit.
Greetings, beloved.
Yes, y'all are good, because I was just in a discussion about the switching of the names of the land, and I'm glad Brother Smith spoke something on it. They talking about Lebanon over there, or they talking about Lebanon over here.
Exactly.
I just found that pretty beautiful, because now I ain't the most smartest person in the world, but when Yehoshua Mashiach say not a stone to be left standing, and all these crusade sites been found over here in America, and the willow trees is only found in Japan, Europe, and Americas, and they found all these ancient Hebrew markings in the Americas. I was kind of, kind of trying to shed some light on that to a couple of people. But I'm kind of glad Elder spoke on it and brought that up. And sounds like a good thing about to happen with this 3 days of darkness. It sounds like it's ain't that supposed to signal the end of the Gentiles? And sound like some magnificent stuff never was going to be enlightened some people of a bloodline, and they kind of know that's going to be happening. You? I don't know if I'm not the smartest person in the world. I was born that night, but I don't know. I don't think it was last night, but can you give me a little something on that, because I was trying to make light of that today in our group, and then I've been broadcasting it on Facebook, trying to let people know about some treaties and stuff and why the Constitution might not hold a grain of sand when they could suspend it. But that treaty they can't suspend. So I was just trying to bring some truth to some people. So if you could shed anything on that, it sounds like that bloodline, since you said like they had 300 on Mars, 600 on Earth. It's kind of like a strange occurrence that something always about that bloodline keep popping up.
Exactly. Very, very good points, brother.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna ease back. I stay right here. Shalom.
Yeah. True enough. Everything over there was named after everything over here. Later on in the book, you're going to see what happened. Now, the only thing, period, is that the evidence is over there. Because a lot of those structures that they built, they still stand. And you have to take into account every time there's a major war jumping off, it's either down there in the Persian Gulf area or like it is right now up there in Syria and Lebanon area. Because you got those portals were there.
And see, could it be, now this is Rhonda's 2 cents, and again, I could be wrong, there's 1,000 left shoes. Depending on the age, or as we like to call it, time, the important different events that had spiritual meaning and ties to prophecy would have happened on either landmass. Okay, because I'm in the firm belief, I have to give credit where credit is due. Brother Horace Butler, when Rocks Cry Out, he totally laid out that the book of Exodus and the Hebrews coming out of exile, all of that happened over in the Americas. Right. We were able to pull up the maps and trace their journey from South America through the islands all the way over to what we call now the United States off the coast of Georgia. So this is just Rhonda's humble opinion. Maybe that when the Anunnaki, now we know why they're called the Anunnaki, or Enlil-Nem, and I have to even back up because I need to give Alalu his credit. When Alalu-Nem landed, he landed over there and stuff was set up there first. But because it was one landmass, then folks started migrating to the other side, so other important spiritual events jumped off. So now that's my 2 cents on that. Now, as far as the treaties, I saw those posts come across about the treaties. Now, I'm finna blow some people's wig back. I want you to listen real carefully. Again, this is Rhonda's opinion. There is not a coincidence that now folk are running around talking about treaties the expiration of treaties, the re-signing of treaties, etc. You have various different groups talking about it. Particularly, you have Caucasian folks running around talking about treaties, whatever. None of that is a coincidence. It's all tied to coming to the age that we're in now, which is new beginning, the golden age. Those treaties were set up to expire during this particular time.
Wow.
Because we have to put the rightful owners back into their rightful position.
Amen to that.
So now that's just Rhonda's little 2 cents. I could be wrong, as Brother Wendell say, 1,000 left shoes. So with that, I yield.
Yeah. Also, you can't throw out the possibility of certain things being done over here versus over there. But you got to remember something. This took place thousands of years before the Exodus and all that stuff.
Exactly. And I would say millions.
Yeah, we don't know.
Right.
We really don't know.
Right. Right. Agreed. Agreed.
And I do have some maps in this document where at one time the Earth was pretty much one landmass.
Mm-hmm.
I got all kind of maps in this document. But the timing is one thing you have to consider, that when this actually took place versus, because see, this is actually leading up to what you're talking about, which was nothing really but a replay of what happened.
Exactly. It was the same, because we kept repeating a cycle. Whether it's billions of years ago, whether it's in the 19th galaxy, whether it's in this galaxy, we kept repeating the same cycle. The difference now, the way we wrote the prophecy, and I say we wrote the prophecy, we know how it's going to end, so all of those that are trying to change it, you're just really wasting your breath. You can have several seats because it's already done. It was written in a way that when this last golden age came, when that central sun lined up and the rest of the bodies of planets got into alignment, that was a wrap. It was over, meaning the cycle would no longer be repeated. So
exactly. And it is like I said in Jubilees tonight, too.
Exactly. It said the same thing in the Book of Jubilee also. Absolutely.
All the luminaries be renewed, yes.
Absolutely. So, brother, thank you so much for that. I'm sorry, go ahead on Oracle Tahuti.
Well, it's just that the galactic beings that are here, we can call them Anunnaki, Yahwehians, they are emitting a frequency that registers with us, the melanated people. When you talk about the bloodline, within the blood is the ability to accept this frequency. We have the chemical makeup in our bloodline that makes us receptive to the frequency before other beings are. We are 9 ether beings.
That's right.
And that frequency affects us more so and lifts our vibratory level to a height where we see and hear and understand what is to take place. And Sister Rhonda is correct in saying that this is a divine plan which no man can change. So we can marvel in the fact that we are of those 12 tribes. We are the remnants of the 12 tribes. We are those who will make up the 144,000. And our vibratory levels are heightened. Why do you think we're on this call talking to each other? It is because our vibratory level is heightened, and we understand that we must commune with each other because we're of the same bloodline. So we're coordinating with the facts so that we can understand who we are and what we must do. So the treaties, there is a treaty in place that could never be broken. That is the treaty from the Creator to us, His creation. So we exist in that realm. We exist in that spiritual realm. We also exist in this physical realm that has its boundaries. But through understanding who we are, we can vibrate to other dimensions beyond the third dimension, which is the material world, which the fallen angels from heaven fell for. They had the opportunity to be with the Creator in heaven, and they chose His physical world. They desired the creatures of His physical world. So what we must understand in reference to ourselves is that we should desire where we originally came from, and that is heaven. We were all Etherians, beings of pure light and pure energy. And through the galaxies that came after the 19th galaxy, we became material. And we became material to serve our Heavenly Father's functions. We must seek after Him to reach that frequency of everlasting life. We have the ability to not eat as much food to exist. We were air-thorians. We could breathe air and exist. So when we start researching where we came from and who we actually are in the bloodline, then we'll be those powerful beings that were originally created, the Etherians. And what caused the shift is iron. We had more iron placed in our chemistry, and that gave us the reddish-brown hue. But we were Etherians at first with a greenish hue, and that is the magnesium. So it is important for us to, again, take organic magnesium, and that would assist us in heightening our frequency as well. And I yield.
Indeed. All right, Oracle. Thank you for that. We have another caller, 270. So let's open up. Okay, 270, your line is open.
Yes, hi. This is Darlene from Kentucky. I always listen to you.
Beloved.
Greetings to you all. I've been listening to you for quite some time, and I apologize if you've already gone over this because I did dial in late tonight. But I had a question on what all you're going over tonight. You're talking about prophecy and things that are the age that we're in. Does any of this have anything to do with all the killings in our African American? It's just been disturbing to me that all these recent killings by the police officers to our African American men, are they just trying to get rid of us because they know that the prophecy is about to happen? Or I don't know.
Yeah, we actually did go over that.
I'll listen to the replay
in the news, but just a real high level. It is a ritual that they are performing, because remember, the highest frequency on this particular realm and actually beyond is that triple darkness, 9 ether, or melanin. So what better way, number one, I went over, it's twofold. It's a distraction to distract you from what is really going on, them being flat ass broke. Okay, so it's false flags. So meaning, I'm not saying that no one perished in those particular incidents. I don't know that for sure, although a lot of information is coming out saying that some of those events are definitely staged, but they were definitely planned events for distraction purposes and for them to carry out rituals to try to reverse or stop prophecy from manifesting,
not happening,
which they cannot stop it, because it's not like we discussed. It's already been written. It's really already been done. We are just bringing it into fruition in the physical. So those were rituals, beloved, that they call themselves doing, and that is why, you know, I advise the family to focus your attention on not so much of what they are telling you with these shootings or whatever. Focus your attention. Don't give them the energy that they're trying to create off of those killings by using your anger, your frustration, your hurt, your sorrow. They're ciphering that energy because they're energy vampires. Number one, you reverse out what they did.
There you go.
Well, I know some of the stuff was staged, but I'm talking about the things that are where the police are killing black men, like the one that just happened. And
I'm talking the same thing. I'm talking the exact same. I'm talking the exact same thing.
Okay.
Nothing that happens on this planet is by chance or circumstances. When you see back-to-back-to-back events like that, they are planned. It is a ritual. But you, as a being, and especially if you are a melanated being, you have the power to not give them that emotional reaction that they are looking for distraction purposes and to cipher your energy. You have the power to step back and say, oh, I know what you're trying to pull. But you know what? I'm going to reverse out everything that you're trying to do. I'm going to do that with my thoughts. I'm going to do that by speaking it in existence. I'm going to do that by writing it into existence. Shut them down.
There you go, sis.
Yeah. What do you mean by writing
that power?
Yeah. What do you mean by writing it into existence? Like create a diary or something?
Anything that you want to create. You are a creator. Write it.
Okay.
Write what you want in existence. Put it in red ink. That's manifestation. Speak the words out of your mouth, what you want to happen. Think it in your thoughts, what you want it to happen. That's how we should be using our energy. Not every time they flash something before you on the television, on the Cabal TV, you react to it. That's giving them exactly what they want, is distraction and your energy.
Yeah, you have to go back to the book, Behold the Pale Horse.
Yeah.
They stated in that book that they would use what's called shock theory. Shock theory is when they cause things to happen to distract you from reality. And the reality is that we are the melanated ones, the ancient ones. So when Sister Rhonda is telling you to write these things down, what you desire to be the reality, that is the energy within us that we can envision the future, and that is a thought. And we can take that thought and make it become material matter in this physical world. So it is your desires for that peace and tranquility that you can usher it in through your energy as a melanated person. You have that ability. We all do. And that's why we're here on this show, to make the melanated people aware of who we truly are, that we are the creators of what's to come. And it lies within our realm of possibilities to make these things come true, in spite of the isms that we're facing, the racism. This is energy of lower beings. They cannot compete with us. Look at what we've been throughout our existence in this country under corporate America. Aren't we still here, thriving and doing well as they are? They are the ones who are not at peace. And they show us that through their actions and their words. They are not a peaceful people. They know they're on the way out. We're on the way to the top. So realize that the cream shall rise to the top. The last shall be the first. That is us, the melanated people. And I yield.
Absolutely. Thank you, beloved. And
thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much. Great question, sis. Okay, and just to the final thought on that is that as we're going over the creation story myth, it's probably at least a year by now. I'll have to go back and check how long it's been. It started with triple darkness, 9 ether, and that's where it will end. Make no mistake about it. Nothing moves on this planet without that melanated energy. I'm going to say that again. Nothing moves on this planet and really beyond, but I'm just going to stick with this planet right now, without that melanated energy. You are of that energy. Step up. Take your rightful place. That is not just in the physical. That is more importantly in the spiritual realm as well. So with that, we have caller 256. Let me bring on 256. Okay, 256, your line is open.
Yes, good evening, Unity.
Greetings, sis.
There go Amira.
Yeah. She didn't disguise her voice this time.
No, she didn't.
I was thinking about it, but I said, nah, not now. I'll get you again.
Okay.
I want to send love to the sister that support you so well, Sis Rhonda, and to you, and to Brother Elder Tahuti, and, of course, all the great information, Wendell. You know what came to my mind? I was sitting here, and my head went back, and my wig fell off, and I was snoring. And I was sleeping real good, and my pup ran off the porch with it. Wendell said something that woke me up, and I started really paying attention. Mm-hmm. Remember when they went over there to Iraq, and after they had subdued the city, the first thing they built, didn't they rebuild that palace?
The Tower of Babel?
The palace.
Oh, palace.
The palace, the King Hussein's palace. Didn't they rebuild that palace?
They took over the palace.
They took over the palace, yeah.
My understanding is they built some palace from ground up, brand new, and spent billions of dollars to do it.
Yeah, they probably did.
So that was my thought. What do you think that location was key for what they wanted to do?
To be near that gate, that portal.
Yeah, and then the tunnels going underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because see, we'll get to it later on in the book, but I guess I could go ahead and say something about it. when the flood happened, all that stuff down there was buried. So it's still there. So whatever location they wanted was very important, which would make sense that they would build a palace on top of it or somewhere close to it, so they would have access to what's under that ground.
Right.
The thing that's coming forth on Facebook, why is Facebook now public? I don't understand it being public, and everybody is putting that notice on their page about, all this information you can't share and use my photos and blah, blah, blah.
What? Well, I know that I see that same post circulating at least once a year because, supposedly if you put that little disclaimer out that you're telling fake book or Facebook that, you're not authorizing them to use your stuff. So to me, that's what that's about. Every year I see that disclaimer going around. I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing for people to put that out there to let fake book know that you're not in any type of contract with them to use your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now whether or not we know how they do with contracts and treaties. They don't honor either one.
There was some about today's date, as of today's date, the 7th, that Facebook is now a public entity. So anyway, I thought I'd ask that question, and what was the final one? I had been listening to some other calls, and it was something about being invited on the show on some calls. So my question is, in the future, now this Wendell, what calendar are we using? How is 2016 going to end?
Who knows?
I know it's not December 31st.
Who knows? It might end the 1st of November. We don't have a clue. Now,
so I'm saying there are calendars other than the one we're using. We're using this January 1st to December 31st, which is a wrong calendar. What's the other calendar?
Right.
The calendar we're using is the Gregorian calendar.
And the real calendar?
But who knows? Because there's so many of them. If you go and search, if you go and just Google the current calendar we on, you're gonna have one for China. It's just it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The last question is.
But let me say this. If you remember back when Rhonda played that video of the lady that was breaking down the Bible code.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she threw a number out there. Now the Hebrew calendar matches up with that number and with what was said in the Lost Book of Enki.
That's 5775, I think.
Right. Mm-hmm. I think it was 5777 that she came out with, but if you use that number and correspond it to today's date, it'll give you the year that we're actually living in.
Exactly. And that's Hebrew.
That's Hebrew. So supposedly the right date and the right year.
If we're using the Hebrew calendar, when does the year end and what month?
They stretched it out. They include January and February.
Right.
But let's remember something. Somebody set up time on this earth.
Exactly.
And to try to keep from giving away, I'll say this. Remember at the first of the book when I was going over the list of kings on Nibiru?
Mm-hmm.
Anshagal set up 10 months out of the 3,600 years of Nibiru's orbit. So he basically set up 10 months. And what has happened down here on Earth, originally we had 10 months, but January and February were added.
So if we had 10 months, the year would be over already, or we'd have 2 months left, 3 months left? Anyway.
Yeah.
The treaty is...
Let me say this, because the true first of the year is in March to April. That's when the first of the year actually is.
April.
Not January.
Okay. The treaty is ready for delivery to the 198th nation, which we have been thinking it was called the U.S. of A. So the question now is, what is this new nation going to be called? Anybody got any clues?
I can say this, and I can be wrong, though. 1,000 left shoes.
So in the event,
this is how I see that. We have been split so many ways that unfortunately the ones who stay on the damn boat is going to be included in that treaty, and the ones who don't will not. Now, I could be wrong, but that's just my little take on it.
Just repeat that.
All right. The ones who stay on the boat will be included in that. In other words, you got the 12 tribes. There's truly going to be a remnant left that will be included in that treaty. And the ones that don't, hey, it is what it is.
Okay, I don't understand that answer, but I'll take it. In the event everything comes to pass in 2016, everything, restoration, restoring of the Republic, everything, would we, as listeners to the Truth UnCompromeyezed Network media show, will we be hearing any guests that you may have had in the past come back?
Okay, so let me jump in here, because you've been getting on here every week cryptic, so I'm finna nip this in the bud right now. The answer to that is no. I don't waver from what I say. I say what I mean. I stick to what I mean. So the answer to that is absolutely no. Not on this network. I'm not a flip-flopper. So
well,
now whatever someone chooses to believe, whatever direction they choose to go, I respect that. But the answer is absolutely no.
Well, I appreciate you letting me ask the questions that were on my list, and I will get me a new tablet at Walmart and some red ink pens,
Walmart,
so I can keep my journal every day and write, as you're suggesting, what I would like to see come forth, because that is very powerful suggestion. And I do live in a very small rural area here. And the largest, everything is small. So you might not find items if you run to the 2 local little stores. You might not find ink pens. You might not find a notebook. And if you do, they're going to be 3 and 4 times what you would get at Walmart. And I'm on a very restricted budget.
Yeah, I get it.
And when my sister is 30 miles away, and she might get me, maybe twice a month I'll get to go out. Okay? So I really enjoy getting out, and when I do, I have to watch, what I get. And if I want to include extra items like notebooks and pens, I try to find them where.
I get you, sweetheart.
So thank you so much, one heart, one mind, one spirit, and I cannot wait till the next part of this.
Well, thank you so much, Sister Amira. Thank you. Love you, sis.
Love you, Amira.
Boy. I just love her, boy, because she throws 179 questions at you now, because I even got kicked off, and so I didn't hear part of her 179 questions, but they are good questions, and I do respect her questions. I respect her, and I value her. So thank you, Sis Amira. Okay, family, that was the last call, so we are going to start winding down. So, Sis Divinity, did you have any last words for the family?
To Wendell, I just ordered that book, so I'm going to be ready for you next week.
What book? What book?
The Lost Book of Enki, because I have got to understand these characters, the whole 9 yards. But, I just ordered that baby, so I'm going to be a little bit more prepared coming next week. And as always, I appreciate the family. I thank them for listening, and that's about it. Peace and love. And keep those vibrations up. Keep that energy level good. Ignore all the gobbly that's going on in the media. Don't let it take you anywhere. As Sis Rhonda said, just keep your vibrations high. Don't fall for it. Peace and love.
Absolutely. Okay, I think Oracle Tahuti, I think you're still on the line, brother.
Yes, I'm still here.
All right, brother.
Yes, and very briefly, I'd like to say that we're in the middle of our Heavenly Father, Yah Allah Anu's divine plan. We are of the 12 tribes, us melanated people. There are those of us who will overcome. There will be some, like Brother Wendell said, who will be lost, who are not on the ship. So focus yourself on the Heavenly Father and His divine plan, and that you are an integral and important part of that divine plan. Raise your frequency to accept what is to come and our involvement in this new heaven and new earth. And I yield.
All right, indeed. Thank you, Oracle Tahuti. Brother Wendell, you have any last words for the family?
I did on everything.
I hear you.
That keeps it simple.
I keep it real simple. I did on everything.
That's right.
And stay tuned, because like I told y'all in the beginning, this is going to be a long ride on this creation story.
Yes, it is, because it's taking twists and turns, and it just still fits into what we're going through right now. The difference is, this is the last chapter in that saga.
Wow. And Wendell, where do I pick up in this book? Where do I start?
Where do we leave off?
We're in the 5th tablet.
5th tablet. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I do want to thank, my dream team. I want to thank Sis Divinity for bringing us back with the Book of Jubilee. So we'll continue bringing you that, family. I also want to thank Oracle Tahuti for bringing in the knowledge of Tammuz. I never knew what that meant. Now I enter and understand it. I get it clearly. So thank you so much for that insight. And then, of course, thank you, Brother Wendell, for bringing it with the Lost Book of Enki once again. My wig was blown back about the fallen angels, the creation of nationality, race, and the splitting of the bloodline, among a few other things also. The whole concept about the bread being life and water being life, and how the woman was the bringer of that. So very, very profound stuff that was dropped tonight. I want to thank you for that, brother. I'm really, really enjoying this series with the Lost Book of Enki. Do also want to thank the callers. You all came in and dropped some powerful knowledge. You had some excellent questions that really added a lot of value. And then I want to thank the family in general who has joined us tonight, who have taken time out of your night to join us, to come together and link up for this like-minded information. I do value your support. It is very much so appreciated. So with that, I just want to say finally, family, that if you didn't get anything out of all of this tonight, just take from this general theme that you are a divine being. You are more than just this physical realm. You have within your physical structure the essence of the heavens, the essence of the universe. And especially as 9 ether beings, you are the creator. So therefore, it means you have to create. How you create is with your thoughts. It's with your words. It's with what you write. So take that ownership back and don't depend on anyone to create or give you something that is inherently, rightfully yours as a bloodline. You have the power. I always refer back to the Wizard of Oz. You had the power all along. It is within you. So start using it. So with that said, I just want to give another reminder that Sis Joan will be back next Wednesday with Talk with Mama Ya. She's been doing some great shows on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Check Facebook.com for that playback information. She's been doing a hell of a job with dropping the science. So with that said, family, I want to let you know that I love you very much, and we're going to say peace, love truth, freedom and justice, one heart, one mind, and one spirit. So with that, we're going to rock out with some music. You probably heard this before, but this is just my song. It's so relevant. So we're going to rock out with some Tina on Deja Vu. Love you, family. Nightfall.
Love you. Nightfall.
Nightfall.
Nightfall.